Good morning, everyone. Victoria Lambert here with the Brahmin Journal. And we are going to be live all day today. And we have some great sponsors that have sponsored our junior show. So make sure you watch all day. And also make sure you thank our sponsors, because without the sponsors, we could not be here. I know I say that all the time, but it's so true. So we're here at the Bluebonnet Kickoff Classic. We're going to start with the Junior Bred and Owned Bull Show. It is a little smaller show, so we're going to go through pretty fast. So make sure you tune, especially if you have anybody that's showing a junior bull that is owned. So we'll try to post all the results. We'll be getting those photos up. Of course, our BrahminPhotos.com website has all of the photos, and we cannot thank enough the people that have brought us here. So that is, of course, going to be Breathe Easy Farms, Penzi Cattle, IS Ranch Fitting Services, and the Brahmin Foundation. We talked yesterday with the Brahmin Foundation with Lana of JDH, and she is also the overarching person there at the Brahmin Foundation, as well as Beth Lambert, who is the intern. So we're getting ready to go into the arena, and I just want to thank you guys again for watching and all the amazing comments that you've made during the show while we were here live streaming the last 2 days. So we're going to go into the arena, and thanks again for watching.
Addison Worrell, entry 468, Ross Turner, entry 479, Collie Saunders, entry 284, Freddie Watson. registered Wrangler Scout and Camp operation. After graduation from high school, she attended Blinn Junior College, where she was part of the livestock judging team. Then she transferred to Texas A&M to continue her career in education. Holly graduated in 2022 from A&M with a degree in agricultural communications and journalism. She now lives in Urbana, Missouri, where she owns Livestock Wilderness PEMS. This is our judge for our Bred and Owned show.
All right, guys, we are in the Bred and Owned show, and the only championship is a grand championship. Of course, we have all the class winners. That's always exciting. But as far as championships go, we are only going to have the grand championship for the bull show. The female show can be slightly different. So again, IS Ranch Fitting Services, Breathe Easy Farms, Henze Cattle, and Brahman Foundation are our amazing sponsors. We had a single entry, so he'll come back in for the Grand Championship drive at some point in time. That is going to be Ross Turner of 4R Brahman with his Mr. 4R Big John 125. That's going to be that Mr. H Pride of Maddox Manso, and that is going to be the Mr. H Pride of Maddox Manso, and out of Miss BER Cactus Rose. I believe we're going to kind of figure out how the judge is judging. Looks like Ross moved up to first place. If you're following along in your cap, this is going to be Mr. 4R Denali. That's a Pride of Maddox Manso, BR Cactus on the bottom.
Good morning, and I'm very excited to be here today. We're through your Bred and Owned cattle here at the Bluebonnet kickoff, and I was very excited when I got asked to have this kind of opportunity, and I dang sure am going to live it out to the fullest, and I'm very excited to be here this morning and start out with the bulls here, and I think this is a very solid first class, and I'll be honest here, this guy rose to the top fairly handily for me. I just think in terms of soundness of structure, being able to have some muscle and some rib shape on top of that, he combines all that to the highest degree in this class for me today, and he also comes with some extra stoutness of feature. I like his extra length of side. The way his hip and his rear leg sets into him is very aesthetically pleasing, and I like the way this guy gets around and goes around the ring. If I wanted to be super picky, we could maybe clean him up in his sheath in regards to the calf that stands directly behind him. That's being picky, though, on one that I don't think you can pick a lot of big holes in. Congratulations to that young man. The young lady that's going to be second, though, hey, I know he's skinny and green, but I do think that there's a lot of quality pieces in this thing. When the young lady gets him stuck here on the side, I do really like the way his hip breeds real long and level there out, and whenever he gets out and goes, he's super sound and super comfortable there at the surface. Where I would want to pick on this guy, though, he gets there scotched tighter there in his forerib. He breaks there behind his hump ever so slightly. It definitely does throw his balance off from the side, but I do think his foot size into relation to the mass that he has today is adequate. I would maybe like to see him have a bit of a bigger punch, but hey, you walk behind this guy and he does have a big old pin set. He's just a calf today, and now that's going to come, but congratulations to you. The young lady's red one, though, he's hard not to like on the standstill. I really do like his darker color about him. I really do think that that is a very nice color of red for him, but hey, those are some big feet he's standing on, and I do think, though, that almost works to his disadvantage. As the young lady takes him around the ring, he's probably too upright to the angle of his hock and his pasturing for me today. We want to say he's maybe a little bit more rocked forward there to the angle of his shoulder and his knee as well. But like I said, that young lady puts him on the standstill. I really, really do like how deep and soft he is there from heart to flank, and how extra fleshy he looks in regards to the two calves that even stood in front of him. But I just think from a structural standpoint, that guy's too big of a concern for me. And the young lady will go ahead and round out the class with, I really appreciate the extra moderation we have in this guy, the extra depth of side that comes with it as well. I just think we maybe get a tick too plain from the side. He wants to break there and behind his shoulders and his hump. When you ask him to get out and go, he maybe is still a nickel stiffer off of either ends. But congratulations, guys.
All right, we are in the arena with Holly Baker, and I just want to say there are so many people that are watching with us. This is crazy. Hey, Zach Mosey, Callie Welty, Haron Hong, Brooklyn, George, Sunkar, Wesley, Folk, JV, Alfredo Muscas. So good to see you watching with us. I understand we're going to be in Mexico where you're going to be judging. Katie, Luis Roberto. Luis Roberto, how are you? This is a junior show with the kids. We had the open show yesterday. Christian, Thunderbird, Will, Alejandro, Alfredo, Joe, Marty, so many people. David Ruskowski, DNM, you were sponsoring us the other day. Thank you so much. We have Stuart Watkins in the house watching us somewhere. Justin Garner's watching, Briar Fontenot. Wendy there of CE. So thanks guys for watching. Make sure you let everybody know they can watch on Facebook, YouTube, or they can go to our Brahmin Journal website. Of course, BrahminPhotos.com is where all the photos are going to be. Hey Talib, thanks for watching. Let us know where you're watching from. Que país. So let us know what country and where you're at. In that second class, in the Bred and Owned Junior Bulls, that was the January through February young bulls. That is going to be our first place was the Mr. 4R Denali 122. That is a bull of Ross Turner's, and he has the very beautiful female Miss BER Cactus Rose. BER Cactus Rose is the dam of that very first class winner. Mr. H. Pride of Maddox Manso, of course, is the sire. So Ross took Mr. H. Pride of Maddox Manso, crossed it on his Miss BER Cactus Rose. Miss BER Cactus Rose, I think everyone will remember her when she showed. She was the Miami International Reserve Champion in the calf division back in 2022. So again, that's going to be a Trump daughter that he crossed on that Maddox breeding. And hey Zaid, thanks for watching, and Hector. Again, all our sponsors couldn't be here without them. Then our second in class, and you know, the judge made a comment about it being a little green, which means it's a little young, it's just getting going. And the judge that used that bull for Reserve Grand Champion at the AJBA All-American, huge show, also said the same thing. That was just a few weeks ago. This is a very young calf, just coming along. He's been on the road some, looking great. We know that that bull will have a great future. He was also our reserve calf champion during the 2024, the Brahmin event when we were there in Lufkin. Hey Susan, thanks for watching, and David, and Yar, and Kirby. The second in class 2 was won by, again, the RAC Don Julio. That, of course, is Addison Worrell. That is a Mr. V8 48/8, which know him as Elvis, and that is out of Miss South Florida 320/0. So that's a rundown of your first and second. We had Ross Turner, we had Addison Worrell. Ross was showing a bull that we expect to be in the winner's circle quite a bit here going forward. And then also, of course, really cool that we had our reserve grand champion was second in class there. So this is going to be a great day, a very exciting day. We are in class number 3, as you guys can see. Hey, VS Santiago, thanks for watching. Don't forget our sponsors, Breathe Easy Farms. They are going to be selling some embryos out of the most amazing, beautiful female, that Moreno Miss Lady Roxanne. They have crossed Moreno Miss Lady Roxanne on LGL Rockin' Redman. Of course, Redman is a bull that is very well known and now owned by Casseret Ranch. Casseret Ranch, of course, was one of our sponsors for the entire Red Show. So always glad to have our sponsors do business together. And then, of course, let's go back to that screen with Breathe Easy, Mr. Iran. I need that just a tick longer. They also have embryos available out of Roxanne and that Mr. KC Nikon. So again, Breathe Easy Farms, thank you, Kelsey, for supporting us. And we have some information there if you need to contact her. So let's move on. And we probably need to get Kelsey's phone number in the comments. So Kelsey, if you're listening, please get your phone number in the comments. Of course, You can also visit that Breathe Easy Facebook page. Okay, so let's move along to some other sponsors. We have NZ Cattle, and we want to wish good luck, of course, to Grace, and she'll be showing later today. They are also home to BCC Lady Elizabeth. BCC Lady Elizabeth is just an amazing female that has won so much last year. That little gray female sitting right in front of you right now, that CTCH Lizzie Rhino 13/3, that is her first offspring of the Elizabeth female, and that was our 2024 AJBA All-American Bred and Owned Reserve Yearling Champion. So let's go back in the arena and get that lineup, and we'll talk about who we see. Right now, the judge is Holly Baker. She is walking through, looking at these beautiful cattle, and we have two Huastecas Ranch, I do believe. Yes, we have two Huastecas Ranch, one from MN, that's going to be the amazing and beautiful Callie Kreft, and then Adrienne Thibodeau, this is her final year, I do believe, to show, final year, and this is Mr. TBR 90 that she's got on the stick here. Callie is, we're going to see how the judge is moving the cattle around. She has 1 and 2 here. She's looking back and forth. We're going to see if we can get a camera angle there and see what we can do. Sometimes it takes a little while, guys, for us to get going so we can see the rhythm of the judge and make sure that our cameras are in the correct area. If we do this, I think we're going to need a different camera angle, definitely, to be able to get across there. There we go. Thank you, Mr. Iran. So 1 and 2 are going to be either Mr. MN Ringo Manso or Mr. TBR 90. So what you're seeing right now on your screen, I think she's moving the TBR 90 up to that first spot. Let's listen to the judge.
There's a lot of give and take between this top pair of bulls, I think, because honestly, I think totally different kinds of cattle for sure. I read a little bit extra, more shot of moderation into this guy for sure, as in today, and I do think we're probably getting there. We're probably pretty satisfied with condition on him at this point. I also think that he probably reads a tick plainer, and you've really got to study this guy for a minute to really look at him and see what he's got all underneath there. But I do think that this guy has some good middle to him. He's round-bodied. He's also deep-bodied in the same breath. He's got some stoutness, a feature to him. And when you ask this guy to get out and go, I do think he's relatively very sound and loose. And what I really do like about this guy, though, is he's still square at the surface. You want to step in behind my top pair. He probably is the bigger pinned option. He comes bigger there out of the top side of his hip. But hey, you give this a second place some more time on feed and some more time to grow. I do think that all that's going to come, because this is another wide pin bull that's stout when you get in behind him. I just don't think there's as much there today, but that's okay, because I still think he reads with some kind of rib shape there through the center portion of his body, so it's all going to come. When the young lady does get him set up here on the side, he does pose up some very intriguing pieces, and I do really like that about him. Like I said today, there maybe just wasn't enough punch to him. He's a little greener in his condition. He wants to maybe break there ever so slightly behind his shoulder and hump, but I do really like that bull calf a lot as well. The calf we'll have here in third, I really appreciate his extra length of extension from the side. He's super deep and soft there through the center portion of his body. Gotta appreciate that about him. Where he maybe falls out of the cards for me is he's a tick too upright there out of his hock and pasturing, and he maybe doesn't want to cat around the ring as good as the two ahead of him did, and we probably just get a tick more conventional in our overall look. And the calf will go ahead and round out the class with, though, I think is the opposite here. He's ultra round bodied there through the center portion of it. You step in behind him, he reads with some muscle there out of his quarter and stifle. He has some punch and some feature to him for sure. Fighting the halter today probably wasn't his best look for sure, but he there gets a little weaker behind his hump and shoulder there, and he maybe just falls out in terms of a structural standpoint. But a good class of bulls today. Congratulations.
We have class number 3. Class number 3, we have first and second. That we're only going to talk first and seconds. We've got so many people watching. If you will comment, Kathleen or Charles or Ubano, Mars, Boven, David, Tashi, Mikala, Pamela, Laura, Stefano, if you guys will comment and let us know where you're from, what you're looking at, what you see, what you like, then we can put your comments up on the screen. We would love when we do that. Oops, got a little carried away, Mr. Iran. So, in first place, we had number 740. If you're following along in the catalog, I think we can get that catalog link in the comments for you guys to be able to click on if you want to see it. We had first place was Mr. TBR 90. That, of course, is Adrian Thibodeau of Thibodeau Brahman Ranch. That is TBR. TBR 90, that is going to be a BRC Dutton on the JDH Lady Manso 480. And that bull has already had quite a nice show career. He is a young bull. He's a junior yearling in the open shows, and he was our junior yearling kickoff classic champion. He also has done very well at the All-American owned show. He was our calf champion there with Adrian. So again, congratulations. And if I remember correctly, she did well at the Louisiana show, LJBA show. Of course, we were not there. Adrian Thibodeau, you're killing it this weekend. Okay, we'll get that comment up on the screen, and we really appreciate that. So make sure you give a shout out to your favorite show person and let us know what you're thinking. So the MN, Mr. MN Ringo Manso, that the beautiful Callie Kreft was showing, that is a Mr. MN Louis Manso son out of Lady MN Gypsy Manso, and that was the reserve calf champion at the Heritage Classic Open Show just recently. Again, just a touch on the green side, as the judge said, meaning it just needs a little bit more time, but these are very young and they're looking good. So Sammy and Ruben and Arturo, there's so many people watching. This is great. We're so excited. And of course, wouldn't be able to see this without those amazing sponsors like Henze Cattle, Brahman Foundation. Brahman Foundation does so much for the youth. It is just really awesome. And they gave away so much money during the All-American show. We'll make sure we get that up there so you guys can see it here eventually. But I know Iran is busy running the cameras. Now, TBR 89, he did not come in the arena, Julie. And we know Adrian is excited to show that bull calf too, because he was also, I think he was reserve grand champion bred.
Bulls, how they ring today, and I just think this Red Bulls is the leader in terms of stoutness of feature, having some overall power and mass, and having some extra masculinity that comes with that as well. I'm sure he labors pretty hard there out of his front end. He's more up right there to the angle of his shoulder and his knee as well. He gets a tick weaker there behind his shoulder, and his hump probably is pretty severe the way he rounds off into his hip and his down his hip. But in terms of some stoutness and some bone and having some masculinity to him, I really, really like this guy a bunch also. But to have that big of a rear leg, and he still has plenty of flex off of his rear skeleton for sure. You watch this guy get out and go, and I do think he has some extra bend and flex there out of his hock and pasture, and you get him behind him, he's huge out of his hip, and he remains that way down to the surface. The young lady we'll have here in second. Now, I prefer the way his top line sits into him all the way there from behind his shoulder out of his hip. He's a lot stronger in those regards, and he comes longer and leveler there out of his hip, and I really like the way he's assembled in those aspects. Where he falls out, he's probably just a tick too shallow bodied for me. He's too up right there to the angle of his shoulder and knee, and he maybe labors a bit too much there off of his rear skeleton as well. And you step in behind him, he's probably a nickel more closed up there in his pin set. But like I said, from the side, I do think this guy has a lot of really intriguing pieces, and he does that very, very well. Congratulations, you two.
All right, we had the wrong class number on there, only because I did not tell Iran that there was nobody in class 5. So we're moving into class 6. Moving into class 6 now. But class 5, which we had one entry in class 4. That was Mr. TBR 89. Single entries are coming back in at the end for the Grand Champion Drive. That was class 5. And that was MCC Mr. Casey. That is a CCC Mr. Cletus son out of MCC Miss Denny. And in second, we had the 4P Mr. 102, which is a Mr. Bar D MN Ghost Rider out of 4P Miss Corona. Moving into Class 6, we have no entries in 7 or 8. 9, we have entries. So you'll see us jumping around. Hey, Trish, thanks for watching with us. Trish Collins is watching, and Victor Gonzalez and Chetta. And Gwen, glad to see Gwen Welty is watching with us. Samantha Hayes, Carlos Tamayo, ¿cómo estás? Carlos is watching. I think he was probably jumping on here, seeing if he can see some of his good friends, like maybe Primo Castillo. Carlos Tamayo, of course, was our International Friend of the Year recently there at the ABBA. So glad to, of course, see him watching with us. Carlos, we will be in Mexico for the, is it the Muestra Mexicana Cebu de Segundo? We'll be at the Muestra Mexicana de Cebu Segundo in Villahermosa.
Segunda Muestra Mexicana.
Oh, Segunda Muestra Mexicana de Cebu. We will be there in Villahermosa at the end of August, and we just found out we are also going to be doing their sale, their online sale, so super excited about that. Charmaine, thanks for watching with us. Adriana, Fabrico, Laura Lowry, thanks for watching. John Ray, Crystal, Rebecca. Remember, guys, if you will shout out and put something out there, watching from Sweet Lake, Louisiana, cheering for TBR, Cooper Vaughn, Rhett and Leighton Fontenot, Carter and Finley Vaughn. Thanks, guys, so much. Make sure you shout out for your fave. So, oh, and watching from Thailand, thank you so much. Again, let's go run down that previous class. The previous class was won by MCC, Mr. Casey. That, of course, was our 2024 Miami-Dade County. Let me move my microphone here just a smidge. There we go. That way, maybe when I turn my head and all, we won't get it different. So, that was our Miami-Dade County Fair Reserve Calf Champion. That bull that Drake Melicon owns was also the Reserve Calf Champion at South Texas State Fair. And the EBBA Extravaganza Open Brahman Show, he was also a Reserve Calf Champion, where the 4P bull that Madison Parker was showing, that is the Bar D Ghost Rider. Of course, he was a international champion as well as a show bull of the year. She showed that beautiful bull and made it to the top of the class there during the AJBA All-American show that we were at the other week. So again, thanks guys for watching, and make sure, let us know where you're watching from, what country, and give shout outs to your favorites. In the arena now, and we have 3 bulls. We have Lily Weed with the Mr. 7R. And let's see, which direction did she go? Yep, looks like she's going to keep the beautiful Greta
We'll go ahead and
Forsyth.
start this class with Big Red Bull. I think there's a lot of good in this guy. Anything from him just hitting the ring. I do think this guy's very loose and sound. He's more laid back there to the angle of his shoulder and knee. You walk around the front of him, he stays relatively square up there, and he still stands with some width. And as relation, you walk in behind, boy, he comes so big and square there out of his pin set and out of his hip, and he still keeps that same kind of base width and power there down at the surface. And we want to talk about some extra stoutness of feature, man. He's got it for sure. Is he maybe a nickel flatter there through the center portion of his body, a little bit more conventional there up through the front 1/3 of his skeleton for sure. But I think those are little nitpicky things on a guy that's packed with that much kind of genuine muscle and power and still can put it that pretty from the side. I still think that guy's very, very nice. Congratulations. The young lady's white boy here, I just prefer some extra muscle and power and some rib shape here. I do think he's probably a scotch overdone in terms of condition, and he's probably a tick frailer there at the surface. But I think in relation to these last two bulls, he's the sounder option for me. He's got some more genuine muscle and power into him that I would want to infuse into a different cow herd for sure. That's why I placed this pair the way I did. I prefer my cattle have a little bit more muscle and power and substance to him for sure, even though he is probably pushing the line of condition. But not to brag on this guy's extra shot of moderation and depth of body. That's awesome. I really like how fleshy he is and how he reads like that from the side. But you step in behind him, I think he gets significantly too plain there out of his hip down through his quarter and stifle. Not just a whole lot of muscle shape nor expression, but I do appreciate his extra stoutness of feature as well. Where this guy also kind of falls out is when the young lady asks him to lead. He's too upright there to the angle of his shoulder and knee. Labors a bit too much off his rear skeleton for me.
Thank
Our judge Holly Baker gave her reasons of that Class 6. We're moving into Class 9, guys. But I am super pumped that so many people are watching. Thailand, Bangladesh. Let us know where you're watching from. Bill Norrell, Bobby Daniels, Jerry Solano, Kyle Johnson, Jaime Gomez, Harley Doucet, Scott Thibodeau is watching with us. Susan Lindley, David Perez, June is watching. Mohammed, thank you. Juan Kamana, Christian, Nahid, Abdullah, Trish Collins, of course, is with us. Christian Newsom. Thanks, guys, for watching. We are going to talk a little bit about the bulls that just won first and second in that class, which was Class 6. Our Class 6 winner was none other than FC Mr. Creed. That, of course, was Greta Forche on the stick. That is a CT, Mr. Elmo Rhino 1/7, who is clearly a bull that is making himself to the top. They owned Paradise Island's Miss Kellyanne, which was a reserve grand champion, I do believe, at the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo a few years ago. I believe might have even been bought by Cesar Lastra. I'll have to make sure I'm right on that. I might be wrong. And that was our 2024 Heart of Texas Junior Brahman Show, Grand and Calf Champion. Also the EBBA Bonanza Show, Reserve Grand and Calf, Dixie National Reserve Calf. So again, we've seen Nate Forche on the stick on that one in the past, really has done well. And Madison Parker did a great job showing her bull calf. That was the Reserve Intermediate Champion Bull during the AJBA All-American Bred and Owned. That is 4P Mr. Bow 101. That is a Mr. Chaparral 184 son out of Lady H. Marge Manso. So again, Madison Parker on the stick. And she also was a reserve calf champion at the 2024 Heritage Junior show that they had earlier this year. I think that was at the very end of May. So again, congratulations to all these people that are showing, and thank you to our sponsors. The Brahman Foundation is one of our sponsors, and they give away a lot of money every year. And this year at the All-American, they gave out 43,000. Let's listen. Oh, 43,000 and a half. $43,500 in scholarships. They gave out $5,000 in All-American contest lottery money. They gave out $4,400 in showmanship premiums and $2,000 stipends to the Queen and Princesses because they have to bring themselves to the shows themselves. So right now we have Paul Hayes of the podcast Cattle Innovation Station showing his RW Flat Rock 42 bull, and Charles Eddie Wilson. Eddie is showing his EP Sir Rouse Handshake. He's done such a great job with that bull, and of course we are fans of both.
Young man up front, I really do like this guy from the side, and as you ask this one to get out and go, I think he's very fluid and very sound and loose when you ask this guy to go around the ring. And then when you study him up close, my biggest thing with him is I'd love to just crack him open wide, bust him open wider from end to end. He's a little bit more closed up than I actually expected when I got in for closer inspection there. I wish I could just crack him open a little wider, make him a little bit rounder and bolder there through the center portion of of his body. But that's being pretty nitpicky on one that still has a lot of muscle and still has a lot of masculinity and good character to go with it. I really do like I said, from the side is where this guy really wins for me. He's more extended up front. He's a little bit prettier up there as well, while still remaining his extra masculinity and ruggedness there. And like I said, you get him behind him, my biggest concern, I just want to crack him open, bust him open wide, and to add some more substance and so he can be able to pack some more substance in there into that package. But the young man here, we don't have to worry about that with this one, because he's sure stout featured. He's big muscled for sure, and I love that about him. I like his extra depth of body too, how soft he is there from his heart to his flank. And when, like I said, you step in behind him, he comes ultra big there out of his hip, out there to his pin set. He just probably falls out of the cards in terms of balance from the side for me. He's more pronounced there out in his chest, a little bit more conventional there through his front 1/3. Probably breaks a tick too much there behind his shoulder and hump for me. But I do appreciate the extra stoutness the feature this guy has. Congratulations.
All right, so many people watching. We're so glad you're watching. Let us know and shout out for your showmen. John and Arnal and Norman and Diego, Jonelle, Anthony, Ascension, Francisco, Susan Lindley watching with us, watching her granddaughter Savannah Allen in the arena on the camera. And Lana, thanks for watching too. So again, that was class number 9. We're now moving into class 10. Class 11, 12, 13 have no entries. 14 is a single entry, and then we will be moving into the championship drive. I'm going to go sound off for just a second. Tim Carrier, watching with us. Marcia Tip, how are you? So glad you guys are watching. Boy, the tips did like hoo-ha at the All-American show. You guys took it all. Jake Matthews, thanks for watching with us. Jake, we are on class number 10. It looks like this is going to be our final class before we go to the Grand Champion Drive of this bred and owned bull show, because there were a bunch of single entries. The single entries will come in for that Grand Champion Drive. Terska and DG, thank you for watching and really do appreciate it. So in that last class, our first and second were RW Flat Rock 42 with, of course, Paul Hayes of the podcast Cattle Innovation Station. And we could not do this without our awesome sponsors like IS Ranch Fitting Services. They're all gas and no brakes. Bethlehem Bishop, if you need help, she is your gal. So the RW Flat Rock 42 bull, that bull's already had a great show career at a young age. He was our junior champion bull during the AJBA All-American Bred and Owned show. EP, Sir Rao's Handshake, Lordy Lordy, he's won so much. He was the intermediate champion at the Brahman event. He was also our junior champion at the AJBA All-American Owned show. He was the Bos Indicus International Junior Yearling. He was the Red River Brahman Alliance Reserve Junior Yearling. I took this great photo of him with the lovely Noel when he was Junior Yearling Champion at the San Antonio Stock Show. That was the open show, guys. And then Fort Worth Stock Show Yearling. Let's listen.
And the young ladies, bull she brought us here today. I just think in terms of totals, it's hard to really hate this one and pick a big hole in him. I think that his top line sits into him really, really good. I like the way he comes there long out of his hip. And really, you just get up closer on these cattle, and boy, he just is so much more massive. And he opens up bigger there at the backside of his shoulder. He offers more spread and mass up high. He's rounder and bolder there through the center portion of his body as well. Definitely stands on a bigger foot that's also soft at the surface. I wish maybe he could have a little bit more flex there, more specifically out of his hock. I think he's very soft and secure there through his pasterns and at the surface. I just wish he maybe offered a tick more flex there. And he maybe does just get a tick plainer from the side. But like I said, it's hard to pick a really big hole in him and to really just get down on that bull. That's a very solid bull for you, young lady. The bull we'll have here in second today, I do appreciate his extra length aside and his depth aside as well. He's super super deep and soft there from heart to flank, and I do like his extra length the hip he has. But like I said, you get up closer on these cattle, and I just don't think there's quite as much of him. He's a little bit more close up there in his pin set. He gets flatter down through his quarter and stifle, and he's definitely flatter there through the center portion of his body. I'd love to crack that guy open and give him some more substance and a feature for sure to compete with the calf ahead of him today. Congratulations.
Okay, guys, we have first, second, class 10. Looks like we're going into a grand champion drive because we had a lot of single entries. Blake Nelson, thank you for watching with us. We have so many people watching. Victor and Blake and Milton and Carlos. The guys, it just goes on and on. So excited. So our first place went to the RAC Tito's and Tonic. That, of course, is Addison Worrell. She has won so very, very much with that bull. EBBA Extravaganza Open Show, Senior Yearling Champion, Reserve Senior Yearling at Miami, Champion at Greater Jacksonville, Grant, Reserve Grant at South Florida Fair Open Show, Reserve Junior at the Junior Show in Greater Jacksonville, EBBA Christmas Classic Junior Yearling, Reserve Senior Yearling at the EBBA Bonanza, EBBA Christmas Classic Reserve Grand, just on and on. I could keep scrolling. And of course, our second in class there is no slouch either. A really beautiful bull that Providence Ezel showed. That's EZR Mr. Estralato. That's a BRC Boomtown son out of Miss Moonshine 1. She was our Reserve Grand Champion Gray Brahman Bull at the 2024 Cattlemen's Congress. So congratulations. Of course, the RAC Tito's is a Mr. L2 252 son out of Miss South Florida 320/0. Let's talk about who we're seeing coming in. Some of these we have not seen yet because they were single entries. The Class 1 champion, Ross Turner, owned for Mr. 4R Big John 125. Class 2 winner, Mr. 4R Denali 122, again Ross Turner. If you notice that Class 1 and Class 2 winners look very similar, it is because they are full siblings. So those two are full siblings, the very first two that walked in, and boy, did they look alike. Don't you think, Iran? They look a lot alike. It's amazing, isn't it?
I agree.
I agree too. And that is the H. Pride of Maddox Manso sons out of Miss BER Cactus Rose. Our class winner in class number 3 is none other than Mr. TBR 90. That's going to be a Dutton son out of JDH Lady Manso 480/1. Adrian Thibodeau, of course, on the stick. A lot of Thibodeau fans watching in the live stream. Class number 5 winners, MCC Mr. Casey 237/2. Drake Melicon, of course, no stranger to the winner's circle there. And I would bet that probably Kim Carrier's watching because that's a CCC Mr. Cletus son out of MCC Miss Denny. And that, of course, is a bull that has already won quite a bit, a lot of championships, including in Florida. And of course, CCC Mr. Cletus is a full brother to the Rip Bull, but CCC Mr. Cletus has an amazing show career, being our International Grand Champion Bull a few years ago, as well as also a Show Bull of the Year. FC Mr. Creed 106/3, that is Greta Forche. Again, a bull that has already made it to the backdrop quite a bit. CT Elmo Rhino 1/7 son out of Paradise Islands, Miss Kellyanne, who, if I am correct, was Reserve Grand Champion during Houston one year and was sold to Cesar Lastra there in Mexico. Our one class winner, class 9 first, RW Flat Rock 42. That's Paul Hayes of Cattle Innovation Station podcast fame. That is an RW Flat Rock Cupid out of Lady H. Demi Manso. We also have the RAC Tito's and Tonic, Addison Worrell. Again, just ran through so many championships. And then Mr. TBR 60, who needs no introduction because he has also won quite a bit. And he is a Mr. H. Vega Manso son. Of course, that is ST Genetics, I do believe, sells semen on that bull. Really, really good bull for performance. Very impressive there. Trying to see if I can find her. There she is. And boy, has she won a lot. LJBA show, she was doing really, really good. And she also, we could scroll on and on and on. This bull has won so much, including the San Antonio Livestock Show Reserve Junior Champion Bull, also the LJBA State Summer Show in 2023, Junior Champion, 2024 the Brahman event, Reserve Senior Champion. So again, TBR 60, so many championships, beautiful bull. I do believe during the LJBA show, which unfortunately we were not at this year, maybe next year, we're hoping. Fingers crossed, if we do everything right, they'll invite us back. But I think he was also a grand champion there, so if my memory does correct by me. And without our sponsors, I'm just going to read them off to you. We could not be here. So very, very important. Ranch fitting services. I think we have.
Now we have our champion drive out here for the Bred and Bull Show, and single entries we haven't seen or discussed yet, so I'll go ahead and do that with you real quick. The young man up front up here, I really do like this guy in terms of some stoutness of feature, having some body shape and some muscle. I really, really do appreciate that about him. He's probably a scotch too up right there to the angle of his shoulder and his knee. He probably wants to labor a bit more up there, but I think in totality this guy has a lot of room to grow and get better and mature into a very, very nice bull for this young man. And then the young man right here that's fourth in line, this is our other single entry here, and I think in terms of some substance and some roundness of body and having some muscle shape too, having some ruggedness and masculinity, I really, really like that about him. I like how deep and soft he is there from his heart back to his flank. I like when this guy gets out and goes. He is soft at the surface. He has he's a bit too upright there to the angle of his hock. He maybe wants to not get out and flex as much as the calves around him maybe want to as well. That's my biggest hit with him, but I do think on the standstill he represents a lot of good things as well. And then the young lady down here with the big mature bull as our other single entry, and I think in terms of some mass and some substance, this guy's got it for sure. You get in behind him, he's big there out of his pin set. He has some muscle shape for sure and some expression. I just think from the side he probably gets a nickel planer, and when the young lady asks him to get out and go, he's definitely a little bit more hesitant there off of either ends of his skeleton, and maybe doesn't want to get out and go and flex like he really should off of either ends of his skeleton. But I do like this guy in terms of totalities and having some mass and some substance to him, some extra stoutness of feature. So let's go ahead and give these kids a round of applause, and I'll go get you a champion in reserve bred and owned bull.
So we are getting up some of our photos that we missed getting up with our posts from yesterday in the open show. But we're with Holly Baker in the arena right now at the Grand Champion Drive of the Junior Bred and Owned Bull Show. She is walking back. She is now looking at entry 1086. That's at MCC Mr. Casey, which of course, Gwen Welty, I think you would agree that there you go. Oh my goodness. We have a champion. That is going to be the Paul Hayes. I do believe, yep. I do believe that's Paul Hayes, Innovations. Oh, no, it's not. I so lied. That's going to be one of the single entries. That's going to be Mr. TBR 89. Mr. TBR 89, am I correct there? Yes, Mr. TBR 89, which of course is Adrienne Thibodeau's bull that she showed during the All-American as well as at the LJBA. I believe that 89 bull was our reserve grand champion in the LJBA. Callie Welty, great to see you watching. I know I was going to say that I think Kim Carrier was probably watching for that CC bull. And Adrienne, there you go. She ended up taking home she took home grand champion and reserve grand champion. So our grand champion bred and owned was the single entry. That is going to be the BRC Dutton 376 over 8. Way to stick it. Okay, Coop. Congrats, Adrian. So there you go. Again, Coop really stuck that one good, and that was 89. So Mr. TBR 89, again, BRC Dutton 376 over 8. Miss TBR 129 over 8 is the dam. That is going to be our grand champion in this bull show, bred and owned bull show. We just finished. So again, congratulations. If you're just jumping in now, guys, we just finished our bred and owned bull show. We're now going into the owned bull show. And if you're not familiar with how this works, what happens is the juniors might have too many animals where they can't show all of them. So that's why we had different young people on the stick for different animals. So Adrian Thibodeau actually owned our grand champion and our reserve grand champion. So the grand champion was stuck by Coop, and that was Mr. TBR 89. Again, BRC Dutton, and out of Miss TBR 129 over 8. Our reserve grand champion was another single entry. Of course, Adrian Thibodeau again, so that TBR really took the day today. And that is going to be the Mr. H. Vega Manso 301 over 2. I think you guys probably noticed that bull was really, really dark. That was the final bull that showed, that older bull. And I'm going to say, don't know the dam, which is Miss JS DJF 590 over 6. Haven't put my eyes on her personally that I'm aware of. But the Mr. H. Vega Manso really puts a lot of pigmentation on his progeny. So I'm guessing that's where he maybe got some of that really darkness. Beautiful bull, of course. He's won tremendous amount already. LJBA show, I think he was grand champion, maybe reserve grand champion in the 2 different divisions. So again, congratulations to TBR, and please let us know who you're watching for, where you are watching from. If you're in Thailand, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Hamas, Gio, Kamal, Daniel, oops, lost my paperwork. Lydia Prem. Brandy Barnes is watching with us. Brooke England. Boy, Benton had a great show. So you, England Cattle Company, have had a great show. I don't know if Brooke's up here watching or if she's down in the valley. And here we go, guys. We're coming into the Junior Bull Show. Now this is owned bulls, not bred and owned. So in the bred and owned show, if you are not familiar with the way that works, the young person showing has to be the breeder on the papers. They have to have bred their own animal. These could possibly be the animals that they've maybe purchased. So again, what we're seeing here is going to be our junior showman showing bulls that they own. This is going to be class number 2 because class number 1 is a single entry. And again, that is going to be that Mr. 4R Big John. So they can show in the bred and owned and the owned. But if they're not bred by the exhibitor, they cannot show in the previous show we were just in. So hope that makes a little sense. I don't know, I think I might have confused myself. Alfredo, thank you for watching. And John Darby's in the house. Emma, Manuel Hernandez, Erwin, Danielle, Robbie, Gamal. We are super excited to be here. And the only reason why we're here is because of IS Ranch Fitting Services, Breathe Easy Farms, Henze Cattle, and Brahman Foundation. So if you're watching today, hey, Cody is watching. We just want to thank Henze Cattle, of course, celebrating many firsts just this last All-American because Grayson got to show. The location of this show We are in Bryan College Station area. We are at the Brazos Valley Expo Center. So if you're in Texas, close to Brazos Valley Expo Center, which is Bryan College Station, please join us. If not, keep watching the live. And Hensley Cattle, we were saying, Grayson, Brad Hensley's daughter, has just started showing, and Lordy, she was so good. She was reserve yearling champion in the bred and owned at the 2024 AJBA. That beautiful female you're seeing there with Grayson on the stick. And the dam is that BCC Lady Elizabeth that I think everyone will know. She was grand champion at the very first 4 shows this year. In 2024, she was 4 for 4 at those first shows. She is absolutely stunning. They are selling embryos out of her, and she's one of those top contenders for that show cow of the year. Let's talk about what we see in the arena right now. From Dallas, but you wanted to visit. Thank you. And thank you so much, Cody, for telling us thanks. Of course, we couldn't do it without our awesome sponsors, which I think you already know. So glad to be here. And we are really hoping you guys watch all day and thank all of our sponsors. And we have people messaging us on our Facebook page. Where can you get the breed? Where can we buy some of these animals? Not a problem. We'll get you in touch with people that can help you. Right now we're in class number 2. So we have a different judge. Can we throw up do we have the judge's screen? Perfect, awesome. And we are in class number 2. It looks like he's keeping them as is to the judge.
So to be at a cattle show, and today's certainly no exception. If we kind of get into this first class and dig in, I don't know what we have to expect, but I think this is an awfully deep class of baby bulls here to evaluate really from top to bottom. I think there's a lot of good in each of them. The top 3 probably put together just a little more complete kind of a look to me. And I think the big time pieces come in the young ladies bull that we're going to lead off with. That one's awesome from the ground up, in my opinion. Awesome hind leg, really can get out and go. He's neat looking up front, and then you get behind him, and although he's fairly green in terms of condition, he's really bold and genuine in terms of skeletal width and rib shape. He's awfully empty and hollow. I think he only gets better with time there. He needs to hook up a little bit stronger directly behind his shoulder and hump to me. In motion, I think it looks better. I think with some time and with some condition, it'll look better, but I always think he's probably going to need to look just a little bit stronger than what he is there. But I think ground up, look, muscularity, and just a lot of quality, that one offers a lot of good. The next bull is definitely a bigger, larger outline kind of a deal that's longer bodied. I think just a really good kind of an animal that maybe doesn't come with quite the unique pieces of the bull we find in first. He's really sound, I think, relative to the bull in third. He's just a little more coordinated. He's a little longer hipped, a little more coordinated off of his hip and his hind leg kind of a deal. And of the first 3, he hooks up the best for me in terms of studying his top line, especially as we get him out in motion. The bull in third's really, really powerful and shapely. I think that one is really good in that regard. He's really stout-featured as well, really masculine in terms of his look. As we set the cattle in motion, I think he gets just a little piecier than the first 2. I think of those 3, even though he's still probably sound enough, he's just not quite as coordinated in the way he utilizes his hind leg, and I think it starts up in his hip being built just a shade rounder, and then he kind of shares our class winner's look directly behind his shoulder. Again, I think that gets better with time. He's still awfully fresh in terms of his condition, so I think he can go ahead and kind of mass up and fill in and smooth up, but I don't think he's quite as good from a balance perspective as those 2. The next bull balance is really nice from the side. I think that one's smooth, moderate, hits me as kind of a calving ease bull just with his extra moderation, flatness of shoulder, just good body shape kind of a deal, and ultra sound feet and legs. Unfortunately, he doesn't come with the extras that we find in the first three, but I think his soundness and softness advantage allow him to go over the Red Bull. The Red Bull's an interesting one because I think standing still, that one's in the conversation to move up all the way into our top 2 or 3 pretty easily. He's really good looking. He's really tall fronted. I like how the young lady gets him put together in terms of getting his top line, loin down, and he's plenty soft in terms of his rib shape. And he doesn't look like he should move the way he does, in my opinion, based on the way his feet and legs are constructed. But I think as we set him in motion, he gets just a little too short-strided, maybe just a hair upright off of his hind leg, and that's where I get pretty critical of a younger bull, because as we add more weight, we add more size and substance, that becomes one of those things that might be a little bit harder to manage. But like I said, if that one does stay together structurally, I think down the road that one could be very, very competitive, top to bottom. Awfully nice class of bulls. Congratulations to all 5 of those kids.
And see, this is why I always say Yvonne and Chuck and Emma Bush, Mohammed, Guadalupe, all these people that are watching, I always say it's one man's opinion and you never know. So what I find interesting is the previous judge flopped the first and second. She used the 4R bull for first and the RAC Don Julio for second. This judge used the Addison World-led bull for first and the 4R for second. Again, Ross Turner was class champion with his BER Cactus Rose son by Mr. H. Pride of Maddox Manso, and he was used first in the previous show. The RAC Don Julio has already been used frequently. He was our reserve calf champion at the 2024 Brahman event, but the reserve grand and calf champion there at the AJBA All-American Bred and Owned. He is a Mr. V8 488, 48/8. If you're just joining us, that of course is Elvis. That is also the sire of the beautiful 40 cow that Gracie Lambright showed and did so well. Reserve International champion a couple of years ago. That of course, Babe Scott, Gracie Lambright had used that Elvis very well with their females. And then out of the Miss South Florida, Addison World, of course, on the stick. We're now moving into class 3. Better. Thank you. All righty. We were checking out some photos, making sure they're looking good. So we have been uploading photos to our photo site because of our awesome sponsors. All these amazing sponsors. We have all our photos for free, and we have been uploading them like crazy. We have so far 2,800 photos, and we're still uploading. And really cool that 4,800 page views so far in the last 2 days. Hey, Nancy, good luck to Brooklyn Everett. Absolutely. Wishing her a lot of luck. And of course, thank you to our sponsors such as IS Ranch Fitting Service that we can see right here in the bottom right corner. Thank you so much, because without our sponsors, Nancy wouldn't be able to watch, nor would Leah and Willie and everybody else. So again, thank you to IS Ranch Fitting Services as we watch Class 3 with some tremendous bulls walking through the arena. And we have to say to Bethlehem Bishop of IS Ranch Fitting Services, she's super cool because she allows her clients to show their own cattle, which sometimes people don't allow.
Just an outstanding red Brahman female, as pretty as you could make one. Love the bone, love her muscling, love the breed character. Just a great female. Congratulations.
Good me, just overall powerful. She got everything I'm looking for in a cow. She's really level top, smooth from hooks to pins. Had the depth of body. You just get behind her. She's overpowered with a lot of muscle in her. Very structurally sound. Just a really nice individual.
So every judge judges differently and organizes their arena differently. Hey, Robin, thank you so much. We do appreciate these live stream sponsors and photo sponsors. They are absolutely awesome. So it looks like he's going to walk.
As we get into our next class here, the to lead off this class. There's a lot of bull there relative to his age, but man, he's awfully good. Big-footed, stout-featured, really rugged in terms of his type. I think whether you study him on the setup, the way she puts him together, you study him in motion, there's a ton that I love about that bull. Puts a lot of good pieces of just basic function together with an awesome look, tons of levelness, extra shape, extra bone. I think that's a very nice way to lead off our class here. The next bull's really good in his own right in terms of just the basics. He's sound, he's good-bodied, he's muscular, he's still plenty masculine in terms of his look. He doesn't come with quite the extra balance in his rear third, nor the extra stoutness of structure and chest width that the bull we lead off with does. But that one checks a lot of boxes, just very functional in my mind in terms of covering the basics. The next bull has kind of the upside of our class winner, but maybe not the extra softness and just fill and mass that we find in the second place bull. I think if he ever figures it out, and the longer he's on feed, the better this one probably gets. I understand why we've got him out here, even though he's a bit stubborn, because if you study that one from a look and balance, levelness perspective, the way his hind legs build, I think there's a lot to like. And this one's awfully skinny at this point. He's only going to get better in terms of his rib shape, his natural thickness. He's already got plenty of it. Just wish, we could see that one down the road, because I think there's a lot of good to him, and I think he could easily push to be second in this class a few months down the road. The next one's kind of a very opposite style of good, in my opinion. This one's not got near as much width and mass and power to him. As you study him from the front or the rear, a little taller, a little more extended kind of a bull. If you like him real growthy, real extended, real smooth, I would guess this is your bull. I love his soundness, love the way he gets out and goes, especially off of his hind leg. You could probably pick on his front leg ever so slightly if you're being ultra critical, but I think from a basic function perspective, he's good there. Like his softness, like his smoothness. Wish we could open that one up, make him more massive and powerful all the way through. The kind of wild colored bull here that comes next is one that has a little bit more skeletal width. He certainly has a little more muscle shape. That one maybe isn't quite as good in terms of his forerib softness and his belly softness at this point. Just wish, again, we could catch this one up down the road. I think he stands the chance to gain a spot or two just because basic build is really good. He just doesn't have quite as much to him today, especially as you study through his middle third. The Red Bull's neat, standing still. He's really long-bodied. Young lady does a good job getting him shown in terms of his top line. He's got a nice front end to him. He's really masculine in terms of his look. My biggest issue with this one is once we get him set in motion, he's not near as good out of his rear third as any of the other bulls in terms of his comfort level and athleticism, so he ends up at the bottom today. But I do think there's a lot of good in that one as you talk about breeding them going forward and complementing certain types of cows.
Their judge.
Again, thank you guys so much for watching. It's a lot of you guys, and I know so many of you, so thank you. Porfirio and Elvin and Ibar and Christy. Carlos, thank you. Nancy Bulchick is watching with us. Motion Quest Newberry. Armando Victor Gomez is watching with us. And I saw Callie Welty pop on there a little while ago, David Rome, and Carlos Joel. Thank you guys for watching. Let us know who you like and where you're watching from. We just had first and second in that last class. Our first place went to the beautiful Claire Jalefka. I now know how to say Lefka. Jalefka. That was her CJ Bar Mr. Memo 11/3, who we personally just took some photos of because he was our reserve junior yearling. What? Class 4, yes, sir. They're skipping around on classes if they don't have entries. I think we'll have class entries probably for all the classes here, Mr. Iran. Ooh, wow. Yeah, class 6 is huge. So back to the beautiful Claire Jalefka is showing her CJ Bar Mr. Mimo to that class championship. That, of course, is an AT Mr. Eddie Miles Manso 645/7 out of CJ Bar Miss Juanita. Again, if you're just joining us, we're in the owned bull show, the junior portion of the Bluebonnet Kickoff Classic, our second largest show of the year. We have in the arena quite a few bulls that are absolutely stunning. But again, let's go back to class number 3's second place was none other than the Mr. TBR 90, who was actually our Bluebonnet Kickoff Classic Open Show Junior Yearling Champion just Thursday. It's a blur. We've done so much. We live streamed from 7 in the morning until almost 11 o'clock at night on Thursday, so it was a little crazy. The calf champion Gray Bull at the AJBA All-American Owned Show was none other than Mr. TBR 90. And I know we did good at the LJBA show. Unfortunately, we weren't there, but we're keeping our fingers crossed we'll get an invite next year. Jose and Marquito and Jesus Pacheco, thank you for watching with us. Odell, thank you guys so much. Of course, we are in class number 4 right now. We're going to be looking at the DM Mr. Tonka. DM Mr. Tonka, you know, I think he did really good at the open show. I remember that name, and of course, DM, that is David and McKenna. David Ruskowski and McKenna Schulte Ruskowski now. So they got married in April. Yes, he was our reserve junior yearling champion in the open show, that very first bull. That's the red bull. Every judge is slightly different. Every judge will have their own personal fave. And so, again, there we go. My internet got a little sticky there. We go through a lot of internet now. Lordy, without our sponsors, I don't think we could afford it. Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, our internet costs us $10,000. Crazy. Hey, Santiago and MD and Michaela and Fernando and Bonilla and Jesus. We have friends watching with us from Colombia, Costa Rica. Okay, so first it looks like it's going to be 007, am I correct? Isaac? Yes. Okay. And then second is going to be the TBR, and third is going to be Mackenzie Willard. I think we're seeing how it all shakes out here. Again, these are the reds showing with the grays, so they're not split. Would be great if they would, but they're all good. Look at that beautiful young bull right there. That, of course, is going to be Isaac Duhan with his N40. I'm your Huckleberry 133.
As we get into our next, His daughters should be pretty easy fleshing, pretty easy doing. Again, when we get him out in motion, I wish that one went just a little bit easier, just a little less restricted off of his rear two and really covered his stride well, because I'd think about moving him up to second pretty quick if he did that. The next young lady has a bull that's moderate. I think he's got body. He comes apart just a little bit in motion as you study his top line. And then at the same time, I don't think he's quite as opened up and quite as powerful as all the bulls that stand in front of him. The big, long-bodied bull that's got some natural thickness to him that the young lady has, we're going to close with. That's a really fairly big-framed, really extended bull. I think he's probably pushing the upper limits there and just a little beyond what I prefer. I wish more than anything, if he's going to have that extra frame, that he'd have a little more body and just a little more softness and doability to go with that. But still, he has a lot of pieces. If you like pounds, you like extension, you like one that can still get out and go with some soundness, I think he fits you, just not quite my kind. But a nice job to all of those 6 exhibitors there on a set of bulls that has a lot of value to them.
Thank you, Judge. Results here on Class 4. First place, entry 372, Isaac Duhan. Second place, entry 728, Adriana Thibodeau. Third place, entry 789, Mackenzie Willard. Fourth place, entry 194, Kimber Calhoun. Fifth place, entry 572, Cecilia Guerra. And sixth place, entry 1186, Reese Peria. Moving on into Class 5, entry number 596, Teal Kernke. Entry number 446, Ross Sterner. Entry 758, Julian Chavez. Entry 1084, Drake Melicon. Entry 171, Madison Parker. Entry 707, Callie Kraft. Entry 6306, Shannon LeBeau.
Thank you, everyone, for watching. Got a little lost there, didn't I? Just as I've said, Tommy and Luis Rafael and Hollow Oak Farm, Fernando, Jesse, Edwin, Ronald, Carlos Guerra of Brahmin Foundation fame. We were talking about you yesterday. Anyway, let's talk about who won Class 4, first and second. Interesting. Again, you know, you always want to do your best, and you never know what judge will pick which animal. We did have some different animals competing against each other, but class number 4 was won by N40 Amur Huckleberry 133. That's going to be a Mr. V8 855 over 7 son. Of course, that was one of their bulls of the year. That was the 2018 bull of the year, and he is a V8 259 over 7 son. So again, the I Am Your Huckleberry 133 is sired by V8 855 over 7 out of Miss V8 541 over 8, who was a champion during the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. Let me see if I can figure out the year on that one. That Miss V8 541 over 8, I do believe, if I am correct, was a class champion at the, I think the 2023 Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. I might be wrong. Oh no, she had progeny. I'm so sorry. I get confused. She had progeny, and she is a noble daughter. So again, first and second in that class. First was the 940 I'm Your Huckleberry 133, Isaac Duhan on the stick with 007 Ranch is the owner, but of course that's Isaac. And in second we had the beautiful Mr. TBR 89, who was just grand champion in the Bred and Owned show. And if I remember correctly, Carlos Guerra was reserve grand champion during the LJBA show. We were not at the LJBA show this year. We're keeping our fingers crossed. We might get an invite next year, but you never know. So those were first and second in that last class. And of course the TBR 89, if you're just joining us, is a BRC Dutton son out of Miss TBR 129 over 8. of course, Adrian Thibodeau, TBR, Thibodeau Brahmin Ranch. And without our great sponsors, which one is Brahmin Foundation, and Carlos Guerra, I know you know these numbers, but we're going to go ahead and show them to you anyway. We are in class number 5, guys, but Brahmin Foundation needs all the support you can possibly give them, because look at what they did for the youth this year at the All-American. They gave $43,500 in scholarship money. They gave $5,000 in All-American contest lottery money. They gave $4,400 in showmanship premiums. And they gave $2,000 to the queens and princesses.
All offer quite a bit of value. But I think a lot of differences, and I think there's some challenge as we try to get them put together in the way that makes the most sense to me. I think if any of them checked, all the boxes that I love, it'd be fairly easy to use them. I think at least the first 2 or 3 check several of the boxes, but I don't think any of them just, hit me awesome in every area. The one that puts the most good together, especially standing still, is easily the young man's darker red pigmented bull there. That one is absolutely massive in terms of his shape. I think he's probably in the top 2 of the ones we've seen so far relative to shape and natural thickness and power, relative to his frame and age kind of a deal. So he's very unique in that regard. And I think he's got a ton of bone. He's still got a very good look up front. He comes in pieces just a little bit, and I think that's where my issue is with him. He's got maybe shot more shoulder. He's not quite as strong directly behind his shoulder, and we get him in motion. I wish his ankle was just a hair softer. I think we could make his foot just a hair bigger to match the bone and the power and stoutness that he's got above that. But I think everywhere else, that one's just super rugged. He's still functional enough in terms of his structure to be at the top of this set of 4 here, because I think each one of them has little things that we could tweak from a structure perspective. He just offers the most upside in my mind in terms of a bull that can complement a variety of cows and really transpose those things that a bull, move on from one generation to the next, the things you expect from a bull. The young man's kind of red tinted bull that goes second here is one that doesn't want to ever really cooperate for the young man, but if we could get a good look at that one, I think the young man could get him put together and make him look pretty nice on the setup. He's really long and level topped. He's still masculine. He comes with more shape and ruggedness than either of the 2 directly behind him. He's a little extreme in his front skeletal width. He's just a little bit rounder and kind of uncoordinated in the way he handles his hind leg to me. I think from a structure perspective, we need to fix him ever so slightly. He's still probably plenty functional down the road. He's just not quite as perfect and ideal in terms of his skeleton. If you want to build them really good in terms of their skeleton, I think the young lady's bull that comes next is the one you want to tie to. He's good in terms of his front structure, probably better than either of the 2 bulls we lead off with, because he's more moderate in his skeletal width. He's flatter shouldered. He's a little better ankled than the bull we used to win the class. So you say all those things, and I've been using structure and prioritizing it. There's not quite as much bull there. He's not quite as opened up. He's not quite as powerful. He's not got quite the length and just the overall mass that we find in the 2 ahead of him. But I do think from the ground up, that one's probably built the best in the class. There's some unique things about the bull that comes forth. He is extremely long-bodied. He is huge testicled. He's still got a great look up front. I think this one stands the chance to gain the most with some time. He looks like a later maturing bull to me that just needs a little bit more time to continue massing up, softening him up, kind of smoothing up through that middle third of his body. Young man, don't give up on that one. I think that one's got some really cool pieces. If he'll ever kind of bring it all together there through his center third, I think that one could stand the chance to do pretty well down the road. He does look just a little bit shorter strided off of either end of his skeleton to me for what I would call ideal today, but I read his joint work and I read his angles to be pretty good. The young man's bull that comes next here is one that's a little more meat and potatoes. He doesn't come with maybe some of the extras that we find in terms of length and look and performance relative to our top 4. He's just a little bit rounder hipped. He doesn't have quite the attractive look that we find, but he is still sound enough in terms of his skeleton. I think he's still functional enough in terms of his body depth and softness. I wish we could open him up and power him up just a little bit. And then the young lady's bull we close out with. I think from the side, you got to love the levelness to that one. He's really sound in terms of his hind leg structure. He's just a little bit too tubular in mind. He's plenty flat in terms of his forerib. Wish we could power that one up and just make him more massive and stout to run him up any further in this class, but I think that's still a very functional, very useful kind of a bull going down the road, especially because of his feet and legs.
Thank you, Judge. Results here in Class 5. First place, entry 1084, Drake Melicon. Second place, entry 758, Yulin Chavez. Third place, entry 707, Callie Croft. Fourth place, entry 446, Ross Turner. Fifth place, entry 596, Till Cranky. Sixth place, entry 171, Madison Parker.
Okay, Reggie Rodriguez is watching with us. Michelle Martin, Ricardo Loncho, Sandy Bay, Tino Garcia, so many people. Fernando, Oscar, Syed, Mass, Billy Joe, BD, MD. We just finished class number 5. Class number 5. We had the MCC Mr. Casey 237/2. I do know that Kim Carrier was watching earlier, so hopefully she was still watching, because that bull is going to be sired by CCC Mr. Cletus 149/0. Hey David, thanks for watching with us, David Perez. MCC Mr. Casey 237/2. Drake Melancon was the class winner there, but that bull has also been reserve calf champion during the 2024 EBBA Extravaganza Open Show. Miami-Dade County Fair Reserve Calf Champion, also the South Texas State Fair Reserve Calf Champion. Beautiful red bull out of the MCC Miss Denny 193/3. And of course, the CCC Mr. Cletus bull was our International Grand Champion bull a few years back, as well as Show Bull of the Year. So he is also a full sibling. CCC Mr. Cletus 149/0 is a full sibling to the Rip bull, CCC Mr. Rip, who was actually the number 1 bull for siring champions yesterday for the past 2 days for the Reds in the Bluebonnet Kickoff Classic Open Show. So that, of course, is Castlereagh Ranch Bull. And let's thank our sponsors. Of course, we have Breathe Easy Farms. That is going to be Breathe Easy Farms. Kelsey has decided to jump in here and help us out. And she's going to have embryos available out of Moreno Miss Lady Roxanne. That is a cross on LGL Rockin' Redman, who actually has just been purchased by Castlereagh Ranch. She has embryos available on that cross, as well as embryos available out of Roxanne and Mr. KC Nikon. So we also, of course, want to thank the Brahmin Foundation. We'll see if we can get a little info up there. Brahmin Foundation, thank you so much for being one of our sponsors. You should definitely support them, Diana and Omar, because they give so much money to the youth. It is really amazing what they do at the Brahmin Foundation. Visit their website, foundation.org.
We actually received a donation yesterday during the live stream because we were talking about it.
I was talking about them, and Kerry Clay, our good friend at Heart BC, who he himself has had just a great show, what with those Red Men offspring. Of course, the LGL Rockin' Redman is a son of Mr. V8 195/8, who is Redman. I'm going to go talk for a minute. We are in class number 6. And we didn't talk about our second in class. Our second in class, that last class, class number 5, was of course the Mr. MTF Lou. I'm going to have to ask Julian how to say that name. Levex? Levu? Sorry, Julian. Come on.
Is Liva.
Liva.
Maybe.
Mr. MTF Liva. That is Magnolia Trace Farms, of course. That is Julian Chavez, which he is so helpful all the time. We really do appreciate all of Julian's help, and he does a great job of showing. So that is the reserve calf champion from the 2024 EBBA Bonanza Show, Open Show, Julian Chavez, of course. He was second in class number 5. This is a great big class. This is class number 6. Class number 6. I'm going to see if I can catch some numbers. And
443.
come on.
443.
If you're following along in your catalog, 443.
Isaac Tiffany. 10.
That's the private herd number, or is that the number on the show
Entry.
person?
Show person.
443. Oh, got it. That is none other. Oh, I should have known. Peyton Martin, Do Say Cattle. That is Mr. Troubadour Rhino, 173/3. Looks like he's going to win that class. Looks like we have Isaac on the stick, and that is going to be Mr. R.R. Rico Suave. Again, the judge has the priority and the prerogative to be able to change the showing and the placing. But again, thank you guys to all our amazing sponsors. Hey, Bailey K. Bailey, boy, did you have a great show yesterday with that beautiful red female of yours. I hear you might be showing her again today, but you had a championship here at the Open Show, so that was super fun to watch you do that. I know it was so funny. We were doing the live stream, and when she got called out for champion, I was like, oh no, because the whole crowd went crazy. They were so excited to see her crowned champion with her beautiful female. So again, that was a lot of fun. The Troubadour bull that we're looking at right now, that Peyton Martin owns, that is going to be a Troubadour out of CT Lady Popdo 77/5. That is a female, I'm sorry, that is a bull. That is a son of the very great SRS Troubadour 933, which I don't think needs any introduction at all. So that bull is a son of Troubadour out of a Circle T branded female, Lady Popdo 77/5. And in second place, we have a DM. Backyard Rabberty is watching with us, and they're watching the bull show, yes. Washington and Monsert and Lauren and Chip Duhan. Hi, how are you? We're getting some comments. Hi, and Red and Bull. So let us know. Hey, Scott Thibodeau, isn't this a cool show? Zach Mosley is watching with us. Of course, Zach is our ABBA, AJBA president. And the Mr. Troubadour bull that we have in first right here was second in class during the Rio Grande Valley Livestock Show. So a reserve class calf champion there during the show. Now, the judge is walking them, so he could swap it around. You just never know. Again, we have the top 3 walking, the top 3 walking, 4, top 4 walking. 5? Okie doke, missed that one. We have Jackson Smith back there. I love Jackson.
I like him a lot. I always confuse Jackson Baxter.
Oh, no. That's Jackson's.
On names only.
On the names, I gotcha. English being your second language, I get it.
Yeah.
So in second place right now, the judge has every right, and there's a good possibility he could change. But right now in first place is the Troubadour bull, and in second place is none other than DM Mr. R.R. Rico Suave. That of course is Isaac Duhan on the stick there for 007007 Ranch. And DM is none other than David and McKenna. That bull, the DM, Mr. R.R.
A really nice class of bulls here in our next set, and really nice way to lead off with, especially from the side. The young lady's lighter red bull is one that is awesome in terms of his structure. He's very, very athletic in the way he gets out and moves, very level in terms of his build. Question mark there is how powerful is he? I think he's powerful enough. I don't think he changes a set of cows in that regard. You better breed him to something stout, but at the same time, I think ones that are stout and maybe struggle with structure a little bit, he can complement those extremely well. But I do think that if you don't have some power in your cow herd, I could see that one maybe not being exactly the one for you. But in terms of building them really good from the ground up, extra functional, still high quality and balanced in terms of their look, that's the one I land on, kind of a deal. Young man's Red Bull that's going to be second in this class, I think just chock full of power, really soggy, wide-made, bold-bodied, really, really good in terms of his mass and muscularity, and yet still attractive in his look through his head, neck, and so forth. He's not got quite the balance, especially at the setup as the bull we lead off with. A little easier behind his shoulder, maybe a little lower in terms of his pin set. Doesn't have just that really, really high quality look to me. That is an awesome herd sire kind of prospect there. Still plenty darn sound off of his hind leg and good in his joint work. I think that's a really nice bull to be second in this class. His big advantage for his rear third over the bull that's going to be third. He's built wider in his pin set. He's wider from his hock to the ground in a good way. And I think he's just more athletic off of his rear two relative to the bull that's going to be third. The bull that's third, he's got a cool color. I like that color. It makes him kind of pop just a little bit. It gives him a little bit of extra shape relative to maybe a little bit more consistent colored one. And he's got a lot of shape. He's really bold and powerful up high. Like his look up front. I think front 2/3 of this bull are really, really good and certainly make a case to stand all the way at the top of the class. He's a little shorter and lower, and in terms of his hip set, he's not quite as good in terms of his squareness and athleticism off of his rear two. That's where he ends up third for me today. Kind of opposite end of the spectrum in the young man's darker pigmented gray bull here. One that I really like the rear 2/3 of. He is ultra wide and bold bodied, super powerful down his top, and ultra powerful in terms of his hip. He's just a little too straight up front and a little too short strided for me to really, really fall in love with him. And he doesn't have maybe that extra look that we find in a couple bulls in front of him. But I think if we can free that one up and just get him to feel good and go good, that one certainly could move up a spot or two, because standing still, he's got a lot to love. Young lady's in the conversation because she's got a big, long-bodied, smooth-made bull that's got a lot of sogginess to him. I think in terms of real power and stoutness, he probably ranks fifth of those initial five. And then when we get him set in motion, I wish we could make him a little larger on his rear foot and maybe set him down a shot softer in terms of his pasterns. But standing still, he's certainly in the conversation. The next bull is just a good kind of bull, young man. You got one that I think turning out on a set of cows you'd be really, really happy with. He doesn't come with some of the big-time pieces and extras and all the mass and stoutness that we find in several of the bulls in front of him. But he's good-footed, he's good-legged, he's got some shape, he's got enough to him. He just doesn't change, and he's not quite as out there to me. So good kind of bull that in our biggest class of the day so far ends up middle of the pack, where he probably would end up in the top three if he was in any other class, just based on quality. Young lady, very similar sentiment there. Yours doesn't have quite as much shape and natural thickness. He's a little heavier condition than what the bull in front of him is, but I would tell you I think those two are very similar in terms of good-footed, good-legged, level-made bulls that have some, just basic good to them that don't come with some of the extras that we find in some of the ones in front of them, but I do like them quite a bit. I contemplated at the setup having the young lady's kind of more speckled-throated bull here up significantly further. She does a great job showing this one. He's got a lot of mass and power up high. He's really soft in terms of his body, but still has the right kind of shape that he looks like a bull, and he's rugged. I wish that one went better off of his rear two today. I don't know if he's just, been on the road too long, or we need to, do a little more exercise, or maybe he's had too much exercise the last couple days, whatever it might be. I think if that one would just get out and feel comfortable off of his rear two, I'd slide that one probably up into maybe second, third, fourth range, because I think there's a lot of really good pieces. Just didn't see him get out and go well. The next bull's Sound. He's a little bit weaker topped. He doesn't have quite as much smoothness and true ruggedness and power to him, but a good bull nonetheless. The next one's got a lot of shape, maybe built just a little vertical off either end of his skeleton. The next bull that we come out with, young ladies, red bull, really long-bodied and sound enough, not enough there through his center third. And then the dark pigmented bull we close with, similar story to the one in front of him, maybe a shot softer. He wants to get up in his spine and maybe not work quite as well off of his rear two, but a good bull nonetheless in terms of having some parts and pieces to build from.
Results here in Class 6. First place, entry 443, Peyton Martin. Second place, entry 374, Isaac Durhan. Third place, entry 27, Olivia Vernon. Fourth place, entry 1046, Jackson Smith. Fifth place, entry 238, Gretna Forrester. Sixth place, entry 132, Wyatt Haney. Seventh place, entry 170, Madison Parker. Eighth place, entry 824, Lily Reed. Ninth place, entry 133, Wyatt Haney. 10th place, entry number 51, Forrester Cattle Company. 11th place, entry 131, Wyatt Haney. And 12th place, 749, Julian Chavez. Moving to Class 7. Entering the ring, we have entry 448, Peyton Martin. Entry 589, Brianna Hilson. 983, Sebastian Santa Cruz. Entry 445, Ross Turner. Entry 984, Sebastian Santa Cruz. Entry 1158, Grayson Gidry.
So many people watching. We are so glad you're watching. Let us know where you're watching from. What country? United States, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Thailand, Colombia. Okay. In class number 6, let's talk about what you just saw, Lindsay. You're just jumping in, so you might have missed class number 6. Good luck, Brennan. Thank you, Dina. We'll put that up on the screen. So first place went to the Mr. Troubadour Rhino 173/3. Peyton Martin on the stick, Douce Cattle. That, of course, is, as you can tell by his name, a SRS Mr. Troubadour son out of CT Lady Popdo 77/5. Our second place went to none other than DM Mr. RR Rico Suave 13/3. That, of course, is DM Cattle, David and McKenna. David Ruskowski, McKenna Ruskowski. Actually, McKenna Schulte Ruskowski. And they bred that beautiful bull. Clearly, Isaac Duhan bought it. And that is a Mr. Principe Apache son out of Lady Alana 1248. That Mr. RR Rico Suave was our 2024 ABBA Winter Classic Reserve Calf Champion Bull, Calf Champion at the Heart of Texas Open Show in 2024, Calf Champion at the Fort Worth Stock Show, San Antonio Show Calf Champion, on and on. So again, this bull has had a very nice show career already.
Some good, but they all have little things that I tweak as well. The one that I tied to pretty fast is a young man speckled throated, kind of wild-colored bull. I think if you just study him at the setup, especially kind of their belly line up, that one's what I'm looking for. He's tall-fronted, he's good-looking, he's level, he's massive, he's rugged. Unfortunately, we got to study him from their belly line down as well. You can see his knees are plenty coarse because he's built a little straighter up front. That's where a lot of that presence and look comes from. He still gets out and goes adequately well off of his rear too. He is an improvement over the bull in second in that regard. My biggest concern with this one is, can we keep his front skeleton together long term to allow him to do what he needs to do and last in production? If that's the answer, if the answer to that is yes, then I think that one wins pretty handedly. But I do think that is a concern in terms of can we keep that together going forward. Next bull's kind of opposite end of the spectrum. It's his other end where I wish we could keep him together. If you study that one from his stifle up and forward, certainly think he's in the conversation. Young lady does a great job getting him presented. He's level. He's very, very powerful. His advantage over the bull in third becomes the fact he's stronger directly behind his shoulder, built leveler out of his hip. He's a little smoother and just a little nicer balanced in every regard relative to the bull in third. His big question mark is his back foot big enough? Is his hind leg sound enough long term? It's good enough today. He's good enough in the shape of his joints. I think if we kind of free that one up, get him off show feed, get him in the real world, maybe gets a little better. But I do think if we were in a more competitive class, I think his hind leg might limit his placing just a little bit in my mind. But I think in this class, he's got more than enough good from there up and forward to go ahead and stay second. Young man, you got a nice bull in third. I contemplated, I think your bull really needs to be either first or third. If you're going to prioritize structure to the max and just the basics, your bull can be first. If you're going to look for some extras in terms of width and power and look and balance and those kinds of things, I think he gives up just a little bit. He too is probably built just a hair forward in his front skeleton. That was the deciding factor to me, that I would change him ever so slightly structurally as well, even though of the first three, I think he is the best footed, best hind-legged bull of the three. He just doesn't come with the extras, but I think he can have a little bit of sort there. Young lady with a lighter red bull is one that from the side and standing still, you got to like that one. And even in motion, I think he is sounder than the two bulls we lead off with. He's got a good look up front. He's level, and she does a good job presenting him. There's just not quite enough skeletal width, boldness, and power for me. And then I do think he probably shares our leadoff bull's kind of front knee as well, that we're just going to have to watch and manage as we go down the road. The big red bull we close with, really long-bodied, still plenty of softness. I think a lot of times you make them bigger and longer, their body doesn't balance quite as good. His center third, I think, is actually really, really good. Unfortunately, as we get behind him, there's not quite enough power and stoutness there relative to his frame and age and his contemporaries. And then we get him in motion, he comes apart, and his spine maybe gets up underneath himself just a little bit. That's where I picked on him. But I think 5 good bulls. Nice job to each of those kids on bringing us some bigger bulls that have some value to them.
Results in class.
All right, we have results of Class 7, and we just want to say thank you to everyone who is watching, like Duce Cattle Company, or Cattle Services, Aaron Silva, Sarah, Lindley, Allen, just left the barns, and I know she's not watching because she's driving, but she's listening. Bryn Harris, thanks for watching with us, Megs, and Felipe, and Mixer Rodriguez. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let us know where you're watching from. Tino Perez, let's talk about the sale, but give me just a minute. Rancho Catrenta, un momento. So, Leah is saying awesome job, Peyton. And of course she did. She was second in class there. Our first in class went to Mr. V8 414/9. We had Ross Turner on the stick for our Brahmins. That, of course, is a V8 bred bull. That's going to be a Sloan son out of Miss V8 829/8. And the 414 bull has already had a super good career. He was our intermediate champion just the other day on Thursday, again out of the Miss V8 829/6, sired by Sloan. That's probably where he gets that darkness too, because Sloan was a really dark bull. Sloan, of course, is our 3-time grand champion at our Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, so he is the only bull that has ever accomplished that, and he is a noble son. The The 414 bull has also won junior yearling champion at the South Texas State Fair. But Peyton's bull, of course, is a awesome bull too. That was CT Pepita de Oro. De Oro comes from the fact that he is a CT Gold Nugget son out of CT Lady Riley Manso 3/14 and was shown by Circle T Cattle back in March of 2024, where he was reserve junior yearling champion at the Rio Grande Bay Valley. If you noticed, Christy and Addison, we skipped class 8, we're now in 9. Iran, please let Tino know we're watching and what we think about the fact that we're in a sale.
Don Tino, buenos días todavía. Efectivamente, vamos a estar transmitiendo la segunda muestra de cebú, muestra mexicana de cebú en Villahermosa, Tabasco, a finales de agosto. Y por supuesto nos acaban de confirmar apenas ayer que efectivamente vamos a estar también llevando a cabo la subasta que va a tomar lugar en la pista de juzgamiento el día sábado. Así definitivamente va a ser algo muy importante para México y para las diferentes razas, porque van a estar subastándose diferentes razas. Así que las personas que quieran participar, ya sea en vivo o en línea, si quieren participar en vivo, en la última semana de agosto, específicamente el 31 se va a llevar a cabo la subasta en Villahermosa, Tabasco, y los que no puedan asistir y quieran participar en línea pueden hacerlo a través de bestcattlesales.com. Así que asegúrense de registrarse una vez. Vamos a subir más información esta semana que va a empezar, y mientras vamos a escuchar al juez que ha tomado una decisión.
Another deep class. No numbers in some classes, but I think from a quality and consistency perspective, this is the best class we've seen to the day. In terms of all three of them check in pretty much every major box, maybe slight variations depending on how you read them, but I think there are a lot of people in the real world, depending on what their breeding goals were or what their cow herd looked like, would be happy to have any one of the three of them, and I think just very consistent. So we maybe don't have 10 or 12 or 15, but we have three nice ones, kind of a deal. Biggest question mark in my mind on the Red Bull that took just a little longer to study was, how much muscle does that bull have? He's plenty chunky in my mind, and I think we need to harden him up. But he's got skeletal width, he's got body shape. Not all of his mass and dimension comes in the form of fat, and I think that's the big deciding factor for me. If we could just kind of harden him up and shape him up, I think that bull would look really, really nice. He's got a great look. Young man presents him really nicely. He's very sound in terms of his feet and legs, especially relative to bigger bulls, and the red bulls that get bigger, I think they struggle. That bull, I think, has a lot of good to him in terms of just basic structure, soundness, body depth, levelness, balance, and being able to get out and go. I wish we could just harden up his muscularity, and I think that one would be really, really nice. The next two are no slouches. I considered using the young man's bull in second because he is a lot harder muscled and more shapely kind of a deal. He's also bigger testicled than our class winner. That's one place, another place I could probably see changing our class winner is make him just a shot larger testicled, and this bull certainly has that. He's rugged in terms of his look through his head, neck, and hump kind of a deal. He's just a little bit off in terms of his hip, and that's not that he's the round hipped, it's just that I don't think he's quite as attractive in terms of his hock and his rear pastern, maybe not quite as big in terms of his rear foot, so he doesn't get out and go with quite the balance and just really hit the ground and cover some dirt like the Red Bull that we led off with. But I think a really, really nice bull that's still very fresh and can get better with time as he smooths up and gets a little more condition to him. Certainly appreciate those things about him, and I certainly think there are trade-offs there depending on what kind of cattle you're looking for. The bull that's going to be third is not a bad bull. He's sound-footed, he's big bone, he's got plenty of width and natural thickness and muscularity to him. Like that, he's still good in terms of condition. He's maybe not as fresh as the bull in front of him, but he's still adequate in that regard. He's big enough testicled. I'd probably change him in the angle to his shoulder ever so slightly. That's the one little structure thing I think is maybe just a little different amongst the three of them, and then I'd maybe clean up his sheath just a shot. The biggest thing for me, and it's the most obvious, as you study his top line, he's just not near as strong and balanced and level in terms of that area relative to the two bulls in front of him. But I think a good bull nonetheless, a lot of value, still looks nice and is presented well in good condition, just doesn't come with the extras that we find in those other two. Nice job to that young man, though. Really good trio of bulls for those three exhibitors.
And, of course, our judge, Brett Moriarty, gave his reasons. That was class number 9. That was Mr. VBCC Buster Rojo, 34/1. And so glad to see everyone watching with us. I was noticing that Heather Garner is watching. Love that bull that you show. Adrian Thibodeau, oh my goodness, girl. You were grand and reserve grand during the, yes, it is class 10, sorry, Ron. During the Bred and Owned show just a momentito ago. So again, Adrian Thibodeau, TBR, Thibodeau Brahmin Ranch is here, but she's listening or watching from the back. Hey, Diego, thanks for watching and listening. And Carlos and Sebastian. We were talking about our class winner there. That was Mr. VBCC. That, of course, is Vera Brothers Cattle Company. Buster Rojo, 34/1. That is going to be sired by Mr. H. Bubba Rojo, 66/7. I think everybody knows the H. Bubba bull. He was our international grand champion back when he was a calf champion also. We had Kai Vera on the stick there. That bull was our junior yearling Heritage Classic Open Show champion, 2023 National Brahman Show Reserve Calf champion with Rodriguez Cattle Services on the stick. We also had him shown at the 2024 EBBA Extravaganza, where he was junior yearling champion, also the reserve grand and junior yearling champion at the 2024 Heritage Classic Junior Show, the EBBA Bonanza Show, junior yearling champion, reserve champion during Fort Worth Stock Show, junior yearling and class champion at the ABBA International Brahman Show in Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo in 2024. And so he's had a long, really illustrious career. Every judge really likes that bull. So he has done a great job in the show ring, and I'll bet you he'll make a great sire. And then RW Flat Rock 42, again, Paul Hayes of Cattle Innovation Station fame, just took that second. So again, I was giving a shout out to Paul about his podcast. He is very famous along with Baxter Whitworth. They're pretty famous on their podcast. So he just walked on by. He took second in class. And of course, he won his class earlier in the Bred and Owned show. He is showing RW Flat Rock 42, who was a champion during the All-American show this year. Right now in the arena, we have class number 10. We have Addison Worrell on the stick with her RAC Tito's and Tonic. We have Providence Azelle with her EZR Mr. Estrelato. We have the very beautiful Kinsley Gandy showing the ECC Polled Harvard. That is a JDH Mr. Manso 840. Of course, that is the graduate. And then we have Cody Harkey showing the DM Mr. Smokin' Picante, who has already had a championship here. Let's see what our judge, Brett Moriarty, does with this class. Again, we're in class 10. We will follow that with class 11. A single entry in class 12, so I know they're skipping those so that they can go straight into the Grand Championship drive. And we will have class 13, 14, and then we will go straight into that Grand Championship of this owned bull show at the Bluebonnet Kickoff Classic at the Junior Show. This is the final part of the bulls. So we have class 10, 11, a single entry in 12, 13, and 14 left. We're super excited. We're going to be in Nicaragua in how many days, Iran, before we go? He's holding up 3 fingers. 3 fingers. In 3 days, we land in Nicaragua, and we are looking forward to that. We're going to be going to the Ganadera Feria in Nicaragua. Looks like we have a class winner here. Looks like it's going to be, let's listen.
Much good as almost anyone we've seen to this point. There's one that's still kind of sticking out in my mind from earlier on that I think can run with them, or maybe actually a couple of the younger bulls we saw that I still have stuck in my mind. But I think this trio is very, very good where they're good. They all have slight differences that you can pick apart. And I could see them getting placed any which direction depending on who's judging and where you want to set your priorities. To me, the one that kind of blends the two behind him together is the young ladies' gray bull we lead off with. He's ultra strong and good in terms of his top line, especially as we get him set in motion. Really level, but still gets out very athletically off of his hind leg. I think he's a little more attractive in that regard, especially through his rear third relative to the bull in second. He's a little taller fronted as well. I don't know that that's a huge difference. I think we could set him back ever so slightly in his knee if we were going to be critical of him. But he kind of blends maybe just a little more power than the bull in third, and definitely a little sounder structure in terms of his movement, with a little more look like the bull in second kind of a deal, just a little more balanced than either one of them, because he kind of blends the most good together. Really like his length of body combined with his look, levelness, soundness. Really nice way to lead off in my mind. If you like him more powerful and rugged and shapely, I could see you using the bull in second in that regard. Of the initial three, he's the boldest bodied. He's the freshest in terms of his condition, which enhances his muscle shape. I think he's still probably the best of those three in terms of true shape and muscularity as you study him up high and out of his hip. To me, he's just a little bit rounder off either end of his skeleton. He doesn't have quite as much presence up front as the bull on either side of him. And then relative to the bull that leads off, he's a little lower pin, gets up underneath of himself a little bit. He's still very, very sound and very, very functional, just not quite as attractive to look at in that regard. I could see using the red bull. If you just study him standing still, I think that bull's got to be in the conversation. He's tall-fronted, he's soft-bodied, he's level. Young man does a really good job of working through that one's attitude issues to get him presented. To me, that one's just a little bit too plain in terms of his shape through his forerib, and then as you study him going away from you. And then the biggest thing is I think he's a little bit too forward in terms of his front skeleton. He's not quite as athletic in that regard as the two bulls in front of him, but that's a really, really nice bull in his own right. I think all three of those are very good and very much have their place. Young lady, you got one of the better fourth-place bulls of these bigger bull classes. Unfortunately, you just ran into a trio that are awfully, awfully good. Yours is functional enough. He's got some muscularity. He's got a nice look to him. His color is kind of intriguing. Unfortunately, he just doesn't come with the extras, especially from the ground up, that we find in those other three, but a really solid bull for you nonetheless. Nice job to all four of those kids. Really interesting trio on the top end of that class.
Thank you, Judge. Results of the class.
Our results there in class number 10 in first place. In first place, we have the ECC Polled Harvard. That is a Skurd bull sired by the graduate, JDH Mr. Manso 840, and out of ECC SB Polled Brook 355/9. Kinsley Gandy on the stick there of her bull. And of course, that is a bull that is no stranger to the winner's circle. He was our reserve senior yearling and class 52 champion during the 2024 Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. So again, great looking bull. Congratulations to our good friend Kinsley. So she just won that class handily. And in second, we have another awesome bull. That, of course, is going to be none other than RAC Tito's and Tonic 01. And that is going to be our 2024 Miami-Dade County Fair Open Brahman Show Reserve Senior Champion. Our Reserve Grand and Intermediate Champion during the 2023 EBBA Christmas Classic. Junior Yearling EBBA Christmas, South Florida Fair, Reserve Grand, on and on. So he also has done very well here, and we wish our congratulations to everyone. Good job. Now we're moving into class number 11, class number 11.
We get into our next class here. I think another set of top to bottom. This one's probably a little more challenging because, there are a couple of them that look similar, but maybe as we start to study and get into the details underneath it, it's the ones that don't necessarily hit you as looking similar to begin with that are a little bit more similar in the areas that I really like. I think the first two bulls from the ground up in terms of their feet, leg structure, and then as you study them in their top line, the levelness, the balance, kind of the look they give are the most similar, and I think those are both very good bulls. The Red Bull comes with a bolder, softer rib cage. He's got more true width and mass and natural thickness. He's really, really rugged in that regard, and I like that a lot about him. He's got maybe just a tick more shoulder, but the young lady does a good job trying to hide that just a little bit there, and I think that's just a really good herd sire prospect to work with at the top end of this class. A little leaner, later maturing kind of bull the young man's got in second here. Really good footed, good moving, level. I like those things about him. He's just not quite as good in his lower body balance. I know that he's fresh conditioned and he holds his chest maybe just a little lower. It's not so much fat as it is he just has more skin there, but it kind of throws off his balance because he is a little more tubular relative to really any of the other bulls in this class. But I love the way that one gets out and goes. I think he's got a high quality look. Nice bull there. Contemplating moving the young man's bull in third up at times. I do think the class is challenging. He's not quite as good in terms of his joint work. He's built just a little bit straighter off either end of his skeleton. Not quite as good in terms of his top line. But boy, if you don't like that one's body shape, rib depth, softness, sogginess, I think you'd be mistaken. He's really, really stout in terms of that regard, really soggy and just heavy duty in a lot of regards. He's a little heavier conditioned. I do think that not only does he have some skin, but it's filling a little more. He's got quite a bit on him relative to either any of the other three bulls in this class. Just kind of, I don't really mind that, just kind of pointing out that he's not got quite as much freshness. I wish he would go a little bit better off of his rear too. The bull in fourth is one that stopped and set up. I think can easily move up a spot or two. He's tall fronted. He's good looking. Young man does a good job getting that one presented. I'm not sure exactly what happened, if he stepped on the gate coming in or what it was. He's wanting to maybe kind of favor a back leg just a little bit. More than anything, I think that one just needs to get out and go a little more fluidly off either end of his skeleton to move up. I'd probably tighten his sheath up ever so slightly as well, and I think the young man tries to do that a couple times throughout the class, so he recognizes it. Really good look up front, plenty of muscle, plenty of softness, still very fresh. Just wish he moved a little bit better in a big bull class that's pretty darn deep. Nice job to all four of those kids as we study their big, older 2-year-old bulls there.
Thank you, Judge. Results on Class 11. First place, entry 561, Lily Boyd. Second place, entry 254, Tate Barnes. Third place, entry 444, Ross Turner. Fourth place, entry 533, Cody Harkey. We have another single entry in Class 12, so we'll move on to Class 13. Entry number 668, Addison Worrell. Entry 1187, Damian Martin. Entry 607, Baxter Whitworth.
All right, guys, we do have a first and second that we can talk about in that class. And boy, do we have a lot of good to talk about. So again, the first place went to none other than Moonshine Mr. RCS 385 over 22. This, of course, is going to be the Moonshine Mr. RCS 385 over 22, which is that Mr. Principe Apache son. And out of HK Miss Garota Visa 996 and the 2024 ABBA Winter Classic, that bull was our senior yearling champion, grand and senior champion, senior yearling champion at the Boss Indicus show there at the Red River 2020. And you know, interesting, you guys should know that at the Boss Indicus International show, that show was a composite of both performance numbers as well as what they looked like. So that was a really interesting show. Lily Boat, of course, is the owner, and it was also our junior yearling last year here at the Kickoff Classic, Heart of Texas Open Show, senior yearling champion, reserve grand and senior yearling at the EBBA Extravaganza and our reserve senior yearling during the 2024 International Brahmin Show there at Houston. And there's a lot of other wins. So we'll just leave it at that. Then, of course, our beautiful bull, the Mr. V8 316 over 9, which I think there were some comments about, and people were saying, good job, Tate Barnes. That is going to be that Sloan son that is out of Miss V8 997 over 6. That, of course, is Tate Barnes. He was also our 2024 Bluebonnet Kickoff Classic Grand and Junior Champion Gray Bull. So, again, congratulations to that beautiful bull. So many wins. Our Grand and Junior Champion at the 2024 Brahmin event also. Great looking bulls, great looking cattle here. We skipped class 12 because it was a single entry, but we will see Gracie with her Mr. Castlereagh Derrick bull. And right now we have the DADR painted red with Addison Whirl on the stick. Mr. L Bad Bad Be Rad with Damian Martin. That, of course, is a smoking gun on Lady L Rory Rojo. And then Mr. CB Scotch with Baxter Whitworth. That is a NV Chief Big Max out of Miss CB Betty.
Next class comes together fairly logically in my mind. I think the color of the bull that wins may throw some people off, but if you get down and study that one, he has huge feet, awesome legs, and is absolutely massive relative to that. Still fairly fresh in terms of his condition. It is very, very unique, I think, to find one that's as good down low as he is, that comes with as much genuine width and shape and power up high, and yet can get out and go and handle it that well, kind of a thing. His color is something. If you like it, you love it. If you don't like it, you don't love it, kind of a deal. And I wouldn't argue with you that, it could throw some people off in the real world. Makes it look maybe like he's, his calves, depending on how you were breeding him and selling them, they could have some influence different directions. I'm not here to tell you one way or another on that based on your breed, what is and isn't perfect or acceptable. That's up to you to decide. But the livestock underneath that's really, really good. He's not quite as unique in his look up front. He's not quite as high in his pin set as what some of the bulls that we've talked at the top end of classes are, but I think that is just a really, really good animal. I think if you made him ultra, ultra level and gave him a lot of look, he might struggle to get out and go as well as he does. But if you want to study a good set of feet and legs with a lot of power, I think that bull is a really, really nice animal. Young man, you got a nice red bull to go second. I don't think that one's a slouch in his own right. He's not quite as good-footed, not quite as big-footed, I guess, as the bull that leads off directly in front of him. He doesn't have quite as much mass and power. Yours is really powerful and rugged in his own regard. That one's kind of unique in terms of how he puts it all together up high. I just wish yours was maybe a little bit leveler hipped and a little bit softer in the way he utilized his hind leg. If we were going to think about switching that pair, I think those are the two areas that he needs to be better to even really consider that. But I think you got a really, really good animal in your own right. The bull that's going to be third, standing still, has the most look up front. He's really tall fronted. He's got plenty of body depth to him. He's got plenty of smoothness and mass and so forth. I think his biggest issue is his feet. He's just not comfortable when we get him set in motion. The presence the young man shows him with and shows him off with really isn't there when we get him in motion. He's a little tender up front, never really wants to pick his head and neck up out of his shoulders because he's built just a hair straighter there, and then he never does just set his hind legs soft and really track off of it. If we could get his feet right, I think that bull stands the chance to do some good things. I just wish that he was a little bit better in the way he got out and went today to move him up any higher in a class of really nice big bulls. But that dark red bull has some really good things to him. Just need to fix him at the ground in my mind. Nice job to those three on a set of really nice big bulls.
Thank you, Judge. Results here in Class 13. First place, entry number 668, Addison Worrell. Second place, entry 607, Baxter Whitworth. Third place, entry 1187, Damian Martin. Our Class 14, we have entry number 569, Cecilia Guerrero. Entry 727, Adriana Thibodeau.
Right. We have a first and second. Our first went to DADR, Paint It Red, DADR painted red, 21/2. That is a smoking gun, son, out of Lady L. Madalena Rojo. Of course, bred by AA Diamond Ranch, DADR. And that is that bull that we really like. We like all the bulls, but that particular bull has had lots of championships. He was our 2024 EBBA Bonanza Intermediate Champion, Extravaganza Champion, Miami International Reserve Champion, South Texas State Fair Champion, Grand Champion at Greater Jacksonville, Grand Champion at Miami-Dade, on and on. So lots of wins there for that bull. And of course, Mr. L. Bad B-Rad, he is no slouch himself. He has done such a, hey, Ellie Nunes, thanks for watching. And Nancy's watching with us in. Katie and Ahmed, thank you guys so much for watching. We really greatly appreciate it. So again, in second in that class 13 was none other than the Mr. L. Bad B-Rad. I just like saying that name too. It's just kind of fun. And that bull is a very nice bull that has had a very good show career. Of course, he was our 2024 ABBA Winter Classic Reserve Intermediate Fort Worth champion. He was an ABBA Winter Classic Calf champion. International Brahman Show in 2023. He was a class champion, Reserve Intermediate champion during the Heart of Texas in 2024. Also our intermediate and class champion in the 2024 ABBA International Show. So again, also our senior champion at the 2024 Bluebonnet Kickoff just here recently. He was second in class. Now in class number 14,
As we get into our big bull, our oldest bull class here, nice pair of bulls. It's really good to see as we worked into our last 3, 4, 5 classes here. These bulls get bigger. I think a lot of other breeds, people either, they just kind of quit dragging them down the road because they can't keep them together. But you've had several big bulls get through the ring that look very good in terms of their condition, are still able to get out and go and handle themselves. I think that's a testament to, the quality of the breed, the depth of the breed. I know it's one of those things that, some breeds are earlier maturing, some breeds are later maturing. I think that's showing off that Brahmins are a little later maturing. They grow into their own at maybe a little later age, but they last a long time. If you have a good one, those cows can you can turn those out in the pasture, really not worry about them much, and go back 10, 12, 15 years later and see that same cow doing her job, whereas there are a lot of other breeds that maybe struggle to make them last as long and so forth. So really just kind of a comment there to the testament of a lot of good big bulls. We get into our oldest class here and lead off with a really nice bull. He's probably a little on the extra moderate side, but if you look past that, he's got a great body depth to him. Gets out and goes and handles himself real nicely, super level in terms of his top line. I think if we're going to pick on that one ever so slightly, you could change his joint work just a touch. It's not bad, but I think as we get to where he's going to be standing here and thinking about him in a minute, that comes into play ever so slightly. And then I think the other thing, there's plenty of softness and plenty of mass there. He's probably not the widest built creature that we've seen all day. I think he's got more than enough to call him acceptable. You just got to kind of factor that in as we think about where he fits in overall here. But that's a good bull. Young lady does a really nice job getting him presented. Done a good job trying to keep that one fresh all the way through the end of his show career. Young lady, you don't have a bad bull here. You do everything you can to get the most out of him in terms of his head, his top line, all that. He just doesn't have quite the same basic build underneath of him that the bull we let off with does, and it shows more than anything in motion where you really don't have a lot of ability to hide it because the animal does what they naturally do, kind of a deal. You do an awesome job of showing that one. He's rugged, he's stout. He's kind of cool colored in my opinion. I don't know that everybody loves that, but I like it. You put him together really nice. His top line comes apart a little bit. His hind legs not quite as good as the bull we lead off with in terms of flex and reach and comfort, but I think that's a good bull nonetheless. Shouldn't be ashamed of that one. You've done a really good job managing him to this point, and I think there's a lot of value in that one as we talk about what he can do once he's turned out to pasture, kind of a deal, which kind of cows he can complement. I think it'd be fun to own that one. Still think you got a really nice bull in his own right. Congratulations to both of those young ladies on a good pair of big bulls.
Results here.
We have the results of class number 14. We're getting ready to go into this grand championship drive. We have the LMC LF Pole Captain 75/2. This, of course, is CC Guerra's bull that she has won so much with. And Mr. TBR 60, again, another bull that needs no introduction. Let's go through who we're seeing coming back in. We have Mr. 4R Big John. This is going to be the Mr. H Pride of Maddox Manso. He's our class winner, class number 1. Class number 2 was won by Addison Worrell. We have Lily Larson on the stick for her, and that is showing RAC Don Julio. That is going to be a Mr. V8 48/8, which of course is Elvis, and out of Miss South Florida 320/0. In the class number 3, we had our class winner was none other than Claire Jalufka with her CJ Bar Mr. Memo 11/3. That's AT Eddie Miles Manso out of CJ Bar Miss Juanita. We also have in class number 4, that's going to be Isaac Duhan. Isaac Duhan with his N40 I'm Your Huckleberry 133. That's going to be a Mr. V8 855/7 son out of Miss V8 451/8. In that class number 5, the Red Bull with Drake Melicon on the stick. With Drake Melicon on the stick, we have none other than MCC Mr. Casey 237/2. Hey, Eddie Rodriguez and Fernando, thanks for watching. Let's go Kai Vera, rooting for Vera Brothers Cattle Company. We are too, we're rooting for everybody. That's MCC Mr. Casey 237/2. That was class 5 winner. That's a CCC Mr. Cletus 149/0. Of course, our international grand champion a couple years ago. MCC Miss Denny is the dam. We have the we have the Mr. Troubadour Rhino 173/3. Needs no introduction. That, of course, is going to be a SRS Mr. Troubadour son out of a Circle T CT Lady Papto with Peyton Martin there as the show person. Mr. V8 414/9. That is going to be Ross Turner. I think he will be on the stick. I saw someone else with one of his other ones. That is going to be a Mr. V8 146/8. Of course, that is Sloan, who is a son of Noble and our 3-time grand champion at Houston. This V8 829/6 is a dam. We have BBC Dale's Peanut. We had not seen him earlier. That's Wyatt Haney, WH Cattle. That's going to be a BRC Peanut out of XL Miss Jano Cabram. We have Mr. VBCC. That's who you were shouting out for, Kai. And that is a Mr. H. Bubba Rojo 66/7. That, of course, is the bull that was our grand champion during Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo the year he was a calf champion. Very impressive there. I love those Bubbas. And out of HWN Lady Blaze Rojo 37 in class number 10, we have ECC Polled Harvard. That, of course, is Kinsley Gandy on the stick with a let's listen.
I think a really nice bull show. It's fun to get to a show like this, be able to sort a lot of good livestock, a lot of really good showmen. I am blessed to have the opportunity to travel a handful of times a year across the country and sort livestock. I get a couple shows a year in Texas, different breeds or all breed shows kind of a deal. I would tell you, you could go far and wide and not find what you have in the Brahman breed as far as showmen, junior showmen, open showmen, whatever it might be. But these juniors are one heck of a group on the stick. Congratulations to each of you on really understanding your job. There's no hair to hide anything. Yeah, go ahead and give them a round of applause. That is awesome. They can outshow people from just any other breed. They don't have hair to work. They practice showmanship. I get all that. But it does make your job maybe just a shade tougher as a judge with that, because once they get stopped, they all get them put together as well as they possibly can. We've got a couple singles, so we're going to talk through the entire lineup just to kind of mention the highs and lows. bear with me, we got a lot. I'm not always the shortest winded, try to make decisions fairly quickly, but talk about all of them because I want you everybody to know whether you're on the stick, you're in the stands, you're ringside, what I'm thinking, kind of a deal. First class up here is a single entry. Young man's got a bull. It's got a good look up front, got a really good shape and expression of muscle up high and through his stifle and hip there. I think those are good things about him. He looks like he's going to be just a shade more tubular. I understand it's probably one of his first shows, if not his first one. We're at the end of the week. He's probably filled up just a little bit, but probably down the road he'll fill up more. I think as he does, maybe softens up just a little bit, he'll benefit from that. He looks a little later maturing, a little more tubular. He's sound enough. He's got a great look up front, lots of shape. I think the future looks bright for that one. There's some awesome pieces in the one that comes out of our second class to build him with that much presence up high, still have a good front leg laid in him, awesome hind leg, a lot of shape, still be skinny and have that kind of rib shape and natural thickness as you study him from the front or rear. Really, really like that bull a bunch. I think the question mark in that one is how big does he get? If you like him big, I don't think that don't know how big that one ever ends up getting, but if you like him moderate, you like him high quality, I think he's going to be awfully good. Just wish we could hook him up a little stronger behind his shoulder. I know that'll come with time and some condition, but I do think he's always going to look just a hair easy there. The next bull's really, really neat, in my opinion. Awesome footed, really trendy legged. Not only does he get out and go well, but he's very attractive to look at as well in that regard. He's stout, he's powerful, he's level, he's got a really, really good look up front. I just would encourage you to study that one really in almost any regard. I think that one represents really, really high quality livestock. The future's bright. He's not fat. He doesn't look like he's overdone. He looks like he's still got some gas in the tank to grow up and continue to get better with time. Young man with the cowboy hat there out of our fourth class is one that's got a big, long-bodied one that's got plenty of muscularity. He's plenty sound. Little bit long-bodied, probably comes apart just a little bit behind his shoulder. We wish we could open him up, strengthen him up there just a shot. And I don't know that he has quite the extras in terms of look and ruggedness at this stage of the game that some of the other ones do, or maybe especially some of the older ones that have proven a little more. If that comes with time and we can kind of get the center third of his body to match both ends, I think that'll be a really, really nice bull. The Red Bull wins a class that was fairly competitive, had a lot of differences to it. That bull came to the top because he's so massive and rugged and powerful with still a really, really good look up front. Young man does a good job getting that one put together. I think as you study that one in motion, we talked about it just a little bit in class, he's built just a hair straighter off of his rear skeleton, so he doesn't get out and track quite as good off of his rear too as maybe some of the other ones standing out here. But I think standing still, that one brings a ton of good to the table. Wish we could hook him up just a shade stronger directly behind his shoulder. Young lady's lighter Red Bull is one that from the side is certainly in contention. He is awesome legged. He gets out and handles himself really, really good in motion. She does a good job getting him presented. He's extremely level and smooth in terms of his top line. I love those things about him. His biggest question mark we talked about in a competitive class that he won, very large class that he won, how much bull is there as you step behind him. He's a little bit narrower gauged all the way through, a little bit flatter in terms of his forerib, and I think of the bulls that I would consider in contention in my mind, he's one of them, but he's pretty easily the lightest muscled of those 5, 6, 7 bulls that I'm thinking about for our top 2 spots. So you got to figure out where that fits for you. If there's not enough there, I wouldn't argue. If you said he's stout enough, I really want to focus on making females that have longevity and durability, awesome feet and legs, I could see you wanting to land toward the top with that one. The next young man, or the young man's bull that comes next here, speckled bull. It's got a good look up front, plenty of mass, plenty of smoothness. We talked about in class, wanting to make that one from his belly line down just a little bit better. A little coarser in terms of his joint work, not quite as big in terms of his feet. Doesn't get out and go with quite the flex and comfort in motion. Next young man has one that I believe is a single entry out of a class. Moderate, good doing, good rib shape kind of a bull that gets out and tracks real well. Unfortunately, there's just not enough oomph and power and manliness there. He's just not quite rugged and masculine enough. As you study the 3 or 4 bulls in front of him there, the 3 or 4 bulls behind him, they have just more to him, more oomph. He's good in terms of his condition, maybe could stand to be quite a bit further along in terms of his condition to really maximize the amount of manliness and power he's got there. I think the next bull's in contention because as you study that one, I kind of remind you of the Red Bull 3 in front of him in terms of his feet and legs, being able to get out and go, those kinds of things, lots of softness of body, really, really level in terms of his top line. I think the biggest question mark in this one is he maybe just a shade small testicled relative to his age? And then I wish we could harden him up. He's just a little too smooth and a little too soft for my liking at this stage of the game. I think maybe a little different diet, a little harder kind of a look to one that's really, really good skeleton. And that one would definitely be toward the top in my mind in terms of consideration. But I think especially as we get into the bulls that are just a shade older than him, they all offer quite a bit more oomph and true power kind of a deal. I think that's his biggest hole, is just needing to be a shot more masculine, shot more rugged all the way through. But I think that's still really good livestock. The gray bull that comes next here, really tall fronted, really level spine, gets out and handles himself really, really nicely in motion. I guess I would tell you that this one looks maybe just a hair more traditional in terms of his look. As we think about, I think about 10 years ago when I moved to Texas, 12 years ago, I guess I moved to Texas, kind of fell in love with Brahman cattle because they were a lot more genuine, they were a lot more real than a lot of the cattle I'd been used to looking at, and really you can't hide what they are. So I think this bull kind of fits the look of a bull that, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago you certainly would have seen in a magazine. He's got, a tall fronted, really big outline kind of look, lots of softness, good set of testicles, really, really level. At this stage of the game, for where he's at, he's maybe not quite as massive as a couple of the bulls that come directly behind him in terms of his top shape. Wouldn't argue there that he could be just a shot more shapely, but I do think from a look, balance, structure perspective, that one offers a tremendous amount of good. Young lady's Red Bull is really, really rugged and powerful. Love the look up through his head, neck, crest kind of a deal. I think that bull's got a ton of shape and power and still fairly fresh from a condition standpoint. I think as we get him out here relative to several of our other class winners, he's sound, but I don't think he's quite as pretty as we set him in motion. I think he lacks just a little bit of the presence and the balance in motion that we find in several of these other bulls, but I think that's still a very good animal in his own right. We talked about the speckled bull in class. Huge feet, really, really nice legs. It's impressive for one with that much genuine mass and power to handle himself the way he does in motion as you study him down low, remain as good in his joint work as what he does. He gets out here longer. He gets a little bit tired. The young lady does a really good job showing him, but you can tell he probably lacks just a little bit of the presence that we find in the bull behind him, the gray bull we talked about, a couple of these other red bulls, a couple of the gray bulls up front. He just isn't quite as attractive up front, quite as high in his pin set. I think if you change those things about him, he maybe isn't quite as sound and special down low as what he is, so it's trade-offs. I think if that's your kind, I could certainly see running with that one. For me, he probably lacks just a little bit of the look and balance that we find in a couple of them, but I think he's still very much in contention because as far as the basics go, he covers them as well as anything we've seen all day. The bull at the back of the lineup, we talked about him in class, and I think it's a little easier to see now as we get him out here. He's probably on the extra moderate side. I think he's big enough, but he's certainly not going to be huge. I think that bull is very, very good bodied. I think at the setup, young lady does a great job getting him presented. He studies good in his angles. We talked about cleaning up his joint work ever so slightly. We talked about it. He's very fresh. But I think as you study him relative to some of the other bulls, it probably makes it as tough as anything coming in behind the two class winners that stand directly in front of him. Is there as much power and shape as what we would call ideal to get him into the top two into the top two placings? He's certainly in consideration because of his balance, his look, his body, his moderation. I think that one looks like the kind that can make some really long-lasting, easy-doing females. So I guess in my mind, your winner's fairly logical. I think it comes down to several of them, and we're going to bring a second back after we pick our champion here. If you would, give all these kids here in the owned junior bull show a hand.
All right, we have a champion that is going to be coming out of class number 3. So coming in for reserve consideration will be the Mr. TBR 90. So TBR 90 coming in for reserve consideration. So our grand champion will be none other than Claire Jalefka. That, of course, is
Good
CJ.
bull that was second
Let's
there,
listen.
one that fits a lot of what several of our class winners have in terms of just function, some length of body, some lateness of maturity. He's not quite as good in terms of his center third. He's not quite as there yet as the bull that led off that class and several of the other bulls we've got standing out here in consideration. So I wouldn't argue with you. We talked about one of the babies being pretty darn good. Talked about the really uniquely structured Red Bull being pretty darn good as well. The Red Bull that comes next maybe just needing to be hardened up. These are, I'm just kind of talking through the ones in my mind. The big gray bull that's got a lot of look to him, speckled bull that's really unique at the ground, and then the gray bull at the back of the lineup that's got some really neat pieces and is just kind of there and looks the part as a bull at this stage of the game. So I wouldn't argue with you depending on which way you wanted to go. I think there are several nice representatives. I think there is a ton of breeding value out here, and depending on how you like them, how you want to breed them, I think there are a lot of these bulls that could be utilized not only as herd sires, but if you want to sell a little semen and go down the road and try to make the next generation even better, I would tune in. I think this show is awesome. I'd never really been to this show before. I'd been to another show that was here at the same time some years, but I hadn't watched this show real close. They say it's good, and it certainly has not disappointed through the bull show. If you would, give these kids one more hand, we'll pick your reserve champion and get on with the day.
Picked the Claire Jalefka Farms, moving along to the, he's going back and forth. He went to Kinsley, then he went to CC. Looks like he's going to go to CC. Yep, CC Guerra is going to win that reserve grand champion. So CJ Bar Mr. Memo 11/3. That is an AT Eddie Miles Manso son out of CJ Bar Miss Juanita 19/0. And our reserve grand champion goes to none other than CC Guerra out of the oldest class. That, of course, is going to be the LMC LF Polled Captain 75/2. That, of course, is a Mr. M2 BRC Captain's son out of LMC LF Polled Spirit. Congratulations. We're going to go close the live stream after we thank all our sponsors, because we'll be coming back with the female show here shortly. Do you want to close it? I think it's the bulls, so maybe close it. Yep. Okay, but thank you, of course, to our sponsors. I'm going to leave you in the good hands of Mr. Iran, where he will thank the sponsors while we go take some backdrop photos. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much to the Brahman Foundation. The Brahman Foundation has do a lot for the kids, and they always are trying to get more funds to continue helping the kids. So here are some results that they have had over the years, and of course, if you want to do a little bit for the youngs in the association, make sure to contact Brahman Foundation and check with them how can you help and assist the kids in the junior show. Thank you also to Breathe Easy Farms. They have embryos available, and you can see on the screen the embryos, the certain of the embryos that they have available, and their contact info. They also going to have They also have embryos available out of Roxanne and Mr. Casey Nikon 500/6. So make sure to contact Breathe Easy Farms to get an amazing embryos out of LLG Rocking Redman by Moreno Miss Lady Roxanne, and also Roxanne sired with Casey Nikon 500. And also we want to thank Hinds Cattle Brand in Texas because they are celebrating many firsts. They have embryos available, and if you want to see a little bit more information about her BCC Lady Elizabeth 10/21, we just post a TikTok video or a new account, Brahman Journal, where you can see all the good things about this heifer, where has she won, and what people are saying about it. Make sure to share some love on the video, and later we will have it on Instagram and Facebook too. So thank you to our sponsors. This is not the end. We are just making a pause to change to the females, and we will be back soon in a few minutes for the female show. Make sure to schedule your next live stream with us. We are going to next week. We are going to Managua next week, and at the end of August we are going to be live streaming the Segunda Muestra Mexicana de Cebu, and of course we are going to be doing the sale on live and online. Sorry, so make sure don't miss these events. And now that we are here, if you want to send genetics to Costa Rica, make sure to contact Genética Costa Rica. Genetic Costa Rica. Christian is the man that handle all those things for you. And if you are in Costa Rica, make sure to get the best genetics from United States, Mexico, and Austria from Genetic Costa Rica. Always a pleasure to see you, Suzanne, and thank you. Don't go far, we will be live streaming again in a few minutes.